we'll go ahead. You send him another link, and Andrew send him the link. We'll do that. Okay. Are we ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court teleconference meeting for November the 22nd, 2022. We call this meeting to order, and we're going to be led today by Father John Lajana. Is that correct? Lajana, I apologize. Lajana from Good Shepherd Catholic Church. Father, thank you. You can use the podium or stand there, whatever you would like. But we welcome you and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, everyone. Before I begin, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
And back to you.
And, well, I probably won't see you again. Merry Christmas.
Amen.
Let us begin. We pray in the name of God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God is love. In the desire to make us share in this love, He sent His Son into the world to come to our aid and in gentle kindness to help those who are weak, sick, or unfortunate. In His great love for all of us, Christ said that whatever we do for the least among us, we do for Him. He called those who show mercy blessed of His Father and promised them eternal life. Let us then pray for the Lord's richest blessings on the members of this organization who are devoted to helping their brothers and sisters. Let us pray. Blessed are you, Lord God of mercy, who through your Son gave us a marvelous example of charity and the great commandment of love for one another. Send down your blessings on these, your servants, who so generously devote themselves to helping others. When they are called on in times of need, let them faithfully serve you in their neighbor. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. And thank you for those wonderful words. And we hope that you have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much.
As well as a beautiful Christmas. Thank you so much. People, the pastors in our community just make us a great community. And we appreciate all the pastors. And Good Shepherd Church is one of those excellent churches in helping those that are in need too. Thank you.
I hope I can live up to their reputation.
You will. Thank you. So, the next item on the agenda is, are you turning the heat up?
She's not.
She's checking to see if it's set to cool because it's not picking up on.
Hot in here.
Hot, it is hot in here.
It
'Cause,
says cool is on. I'm gonna go.
She just
Oh, okay.
It's
And I'm gonna
on.
go check another thermostat down here.
Okay, let's stand for the pledge. Today we're going to be led by the pledge by Liam and Sam, children of Brian and Stephanie Stafford.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, man, that was great. Thank you, guys. Cub Scout, a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
How awesome. That is very good.
I have trouble with indivisible too.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is, we're going to have a discussion. Keith Brock is here from Compass to talk with us about what we're about to embark on. We're going through the bonding process, and Amy is learning all of these new techniques and issues and processes of how we go through this process. Keith, thank you. And we know it's a process. Today is the beginning of the process, and if you could kind of take us through that, we'd appreciate it.
Sure, I'll do my best, and obviously I'm here to address any questions, so if I don't cover any topic that you all are concerned or have any questions about, feel free. But as the judge mentioned, the process of obtaining financing of any sort has several steps involved. I think what's before you, I think today is an ordinance that would be necessary in order to authorize and approve the financing process and to move it forward. And from that standpoint forward, that allows us to kind of move forward in what we call the execution phase of that, where we could go out then at that point and sell bonds and obtain the capital that ultimately would fund your projects.
Is it still an advantage to have public, like a state or a county to issue the bonds, is that still considered an advantage to people that might buy or
Yeah.
invest?
I think if I understand your question correctly, yes, as a local government, you get to issue, the IRS lets you issue bonds on a tax exempt basis, which is a significant advantage.
Yes.
What that means is the ultimate owners of the county's bonds, they'll be federally tax exempt and state tax exempt, so all the interest income that the people, that you as the county would pay, they receive that income and it's tax-free, so you get to borrow at an otherwise lower rate. That's correct.
Keith, as part of this process, we were told that we needed to get this done, and there's a time period in for us to get it done so DLG would be able to accept it, and we had to get it done before December because there was going to be a tremendous amount of savings for the fiscal court by doing it this way.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to in our parlance, we call that, I think you're referring to what we call the bank qualification benefit. And so beyond the tax exempt benefit for entities that are considered small issuers that issue under $10 million in a calendar year, you can get an additional benefit of that designation where it makes it actually even more attractive for financial institutions to participate. And so that was, I think, the rationale or part of the discussion in evaluating the options in terms of timing. And so when you think about that, you know, it's probably about a 20-25 basis point value to you. And so, you know, looking forward and not understanding the complete plans of the court going into next year, all things equal, you know, you could get that benefit if you went ahead and move forward with the financing now, as opposed to if you were going to issue more than that in total next calendar year, you wouldn't get that benefit. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball on where rates are going to be next year, so that's kind of the pros and cons of evaluating that, right? So if you think about it in that terms, you know, if rates were to increase, you know, you would obviously pay more, but if they were to decrease, then those two could balance itself out. So that's kind of, you know, when we present those kind of options, that's kind of what we're thinking in terms of how to evaluate that.
When RJ talked to us about this process, we have to, I believe it's the 1st of December that DLG, that's going to be their last meeting for the year. They have to approve, we have to go through a process to get that approved. According to RJ, he estimated that the savings for us would be about $285,000 if we went on and got this done. So that clearly why we're moving. And then part of this process is that we're going to have another, this is a first reading, we're going to have a second reading on Monday
28th.
at 4 o'clock. We can do that on Zoom or you come in, but we have to do that to get that process done before the first of, before DLG meets. They wanted a couple of days to go ahead to have all this information. So it's all kind of a process of, we got to do this, then they have to do that, and in the meantime, we've had a meeting with Moody's to get information about going out, about our capacity, I guess, to bond. Is that correct?
I left out the DLG process point, which I'm glad you reminded me of. The outline there is correct. All those things have to occur. We wouldn't expect any hiccups from the DLG perspective other than documentation, which they're going to want to see the fiscal court's fully adopted ordinance. The Moody's piece is a critical piece to your overall cost of capital, because they're an independent third-party rating agency. So the stronger your credit rating is, the lower your rates are. And so that we provided some analysis in terms of our perspective, but it's theirs that ultimately matters. So we've started that process in terms of that getting in place. But that's really a marketing tool that we'll use for the county in terms of trying to achieve the best interest rate possible.
You've already started the procedure, you say?
Yeah, we've started the process of that evaluation, that's correct.
We met with Moody's, was it yesterday, Pamela?
Just trying to do this.
Yesterday, yeah. We had fun, didn't we,
Oh.
Amy?
We did.
Yeah. Okay, we got several people. Let's go with Squire Tracy. I'm sorry, JW, I just saw Squire Tracy's hand up first. Squire Tracy, and then we'll go with you, JW.
When presenting this and going after 8 million, not knowing what the total cost of the project's gonna be, how do you get that approved?
So the great question. So typically you would get the final project cost before you would go and obtain the financing, right? And so in this case, the risk, and this has got to be crystal clear, is that you have to intend to spend at least 8 million on the projects. So if that is a concern, then we would, we'd say, well, we need to reevaluate this strategy. But if that's not a concern, then you're effectively hedging your interest rate risk by locking in a portion of your capital today, at known rates, and then you're just dealing with that other piece or the rest of the project at a later date. So that's definitely part of the evaluation.
Well, I was confident RJ told us that I was pretty confident that we would not be doing 8 million. He said, you don't have to borrow 8 million. You could,
That's correct. We're working on behalf of the court, and so the authorization is for up to an amount.
yeah.
And so if that's not the desire, again, the strategy is to take advantage of the BQ benefit, but you don't want to get into what we consider an overissuance, so you need to balance what your needs are with the financing.
Right.
And so we never want to get into a situation where, we're unnecessarily doing something. So that definitely needs to be a factor into the process.
Is it going to affect, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
JW had his hand up.
Okay. All right. JW, sorry.
Sorry,
I'm glad you're
can you hear
on.
me guys okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, yeah, I'm sorry I came in a little late. I was just trying to catch up. I know, looking here, you just said typically you'd have your costs pretty concrete before you issue the bonding, but the deal was you wanted to look at the savings that were possible at this point in time if rates were to change. My thing is, we've talked to RJ, we've talked to these people, we talked to Moody's yesterday. Have we even talked to the road committee? Have we talked to the our committees here, our financial committee? Have we met? I mean, how are we as far as we are right now without even knowing how much money we're going to spend? We're gonna hamper our bonding capacity for future projects if we focus just on this one project right here at 8 million. I think we've got something else coming up too that we're gonna have to bond. We need to look at this more holistically. I just want to know where we're at and how we got here.
Well, okay, we have gotten an estimate from the committee of the road department of X amount, and it was the high end. So when we went to bond it, we wanted to make sure that as Keith said, you've got to have a number in there. We don't have to take the 8 million. As a matter of fact, I said it's not going to cost 8 million, but in doing that, just in case the cost went up or over, you have that assurance, I guess. And Keith, you need to kind of explain this better for us. So the assurance is there, but we know that everybody knows that we're building a new road department, and you do know, and we all know that there's going to be a several $1 million cost. So we have to move forward to get this money to pay for it, and whatever we borrow is that will be the amount that we're going to need to pay for the new road department.
Because we're gonna have to order the materials right away.
Yeah,
That's-
that's
gotta
kind of
have
why
that
we said we need to get this
financing,
going, and And
What, in January they're gonna need to order to get it by July?
that's what they're saying, yeah.
I would think we'd need a number. What they
Well-
brought to the last road committee meeting, what they brought to us was 7
Seven-
some odd
but-
million
But if you go
dollars.
too low, then you're really in a bad.
No, I
place.
get that, and I think we've got 4.75 budgeted for a new road facility. So, and I get what you're saying, but we asked them when they were in front of this court and at the road committee, guys, we need you to go back and look at ways to reduce the cost and come back and see us. When I sent an email, nobody had heard or seen anything, so right now, we're going, it's obvious, we're going off what was presented the first time, and you're looking at almost double what we had budgeted. That's just where I'm at.
And you're, I'm
Well,
sorry.
Hold on
I got one more
second.
question.
Yeah, hold on yeah, go ahead. Follow up, JW, if you would.
All right, so as you were saying earlier, you know, we don't have to take that number if it's 8 million or less, or we don't have to bond exactly that amount, but it's up to that amount. But let me ask, the gentleman you have here tonight with his expertise, how will it affect our bonding capacity 6 months from now, if we want to issue another bond for, say, another project that we already have in the works as well? Wouldn't it be best to do those at the same time?
So that's what I was trying to clarify. I know you guys are thinking of these as separate capital needs, but the financing can be applied to all of your capital needs. So in other words, you're talking about the road barn project, you need to think in totality of all of your capital needs. And so that's where you're gonna come to the amount, right? And it has to be an amount that you're comfortable with. Because to your question about your future bonding capacity, if you don't spend, say it's 8 million, you only spend 5 million on that, the 3 million doesn't go away, it can be spent on other capital needs, right? So so your bonding capacity is gonna be affected by whatever it is that you borrow now. It's gonna come down off your debt limitation, but you all do not have a debt limit issue. You have to look at what's financially affordable, because you'll have more legal authorization than what you're originally going to be able to pay for.
And we're looking at a small, I feel like you're looking at a small picture here. Say we have a capital project on the scale of a multi-use facility for a sports complex, and we're looking at $40–50 million. Our bond rating is definitely going to be affected by this bond taking right here. And I know we're at a point where we're in a good position to borrow money right now. But I want to know how is the points on that going to outweigh the gain we make? You know, the $200,000–$300,000 savings might be peanuts compared to the obligation it puts us at if we borrow in a bonding capacity that's higher at a later date.
Hold on, Amy, how much did we put in the budget for the road department?
4 million.
4.6 million.
Okay, all right. We know that it's gonna be up to 7 million. We don't know how much, we heard that, we do know that they were cutting, and it sounded to me like we would be very lucky if we got it to 6 million. Now, I don't know what we want to do. The process here is, you've got up to 8 million. We don't have to take the 8 million, is that correct?
Correct.
If we only need 1.4 million, we'll take 1.4. We could do that. But the issue is that we've got bills that are gonna be coming in, and we got to have that money and start paying it. Now, if we don't go this route, everything will fall apart, and that's fine if that's what you want. But you gotta remember that the interest rates are gonna continue to go up, because as long as they keep doing what they're doing in Washington, they are saying they're gonna keep adding another percentage points on borrowing, which means the interest rates are gonna go up and up and up. That is the biggest cost that's laying out there for all of us. We're trying to lock in some money And if you know that that's gonna be part, according to RJ, and what you bring up a great point, JW, in my discussion with RJ and Compass about this was that we know, I told him that there's going to be down the road some more borrowing. He said, well, you all, and I'm sorry he's not on because this is a conversation he told us, and you may know this or may not, Keith, but he said that you all are in great shape for borrowing. Your issue is not whether you can borrow. This is going to hurt your borrowing capacity. It's not going to do that. But it's there for us if you want it. If you don't, then we can pick whatever rate you want.
I think it's a matter of us wanting it or not. I think it's a matter of, you have had conversations with RJ and this other fella, and we haven't even had conversations. I mean, I feel like there's some urgency on this because all these other folks are brought in and numbers are already being run, and we haven't even been brought up to speed on it in my mind. So, I think the Finance Committee, the Strategic Planning Committee, I mean, these are things that didn't sneak up on us, but feel like we got to make an understanding of it right now to move forward, or it's going to fall apart. Like you said, I feel like if we're working on things that are going to fall apart that we've had time to discuss with other folks that we haven't even discussed amongst ourselves, that's not good. So I'm just trying to figure out where we're at and get all these things in a row for myself so I can understand moving forward.
Okay. It's there's nothing nefarious going on here.
I didn't say there was. I just said I don't want to be in a bad situation.
We know that we're going to have to spend more money than what we've got budgeted for a new road department. And all of that's starting to really take hold very quickly because, as we know from the road department meeting, that they were saying they're going to have to start ordering a lot of stuff. And it's going to be 6 months, 7 months, 8 months down the road before it comes in. So as part of our fiduciary responsibility, we have to have money in place to pay for it. And that's how we've always worked. So there's nothing that hasn't ever always worked going on here. This is the way it's always worked. That we identify a project, we get an estimate on the project, we go and get money to pay for the project. Amy, do you want to say anything about that?
Just want to add that we've already paid $37,000. We have encumbered $344,000 towards that project. Just in, I believe that's the engineering, the OHM advisors. So we're already in the process of spending money towards the project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's saying there's not a commitment.
Oh.
But, and Squire Moore, the judge, and myself was at the last road committee meeting, and we asked here when they were in front of the court, find ways to reduce it and come back with us. That's the big thing. And as I said at the road committee meeting, there's a big difference between a need and a want. We need to make sure that we give them their needs, that what they need to do it. But the last plan that I saw had 9 offices in it, 2 conference rooms, things of that nature. 9 offices is almost as many offices as down here. So I think it's things like that they said they would look at ways to reduce it and bring it back, and we've not heard anything.
Oh, they didn't come back. I thought they did.
Well, they did rearrange some of that, because for what the mechanics wanted, put the wash bays outside so someone could be cleaning up while someone's in the restroom.
Yeah, and they put a door to where you wouldn't have to walk out of the building to come back in. But as far as reducing the cost, I haven't seen anything on that.
We're going to all compass some money, I'm sure, so let's just cancel the whole thing. That's what you, are you all?
I don't want to cancel it,
No.
I want to take a vote on it today.
Okay.
I don't want to put the park in front of the road department. I think the road department is very important, and they can deal with the park later, but
We're not voting.
I don't think this is going,
I
but we'll have first reading.
This is the first reading on it tonight.
I don't
and then we have
want to
do
throw away over $230,000 either. Go ahead.
Nobody does.
That doesn't sound like it to me. If I wants to put it off, but
No, I don't want to put it. I just want to get caught up because if there's been conversations had that I wasn't privy to, I don't think committees have understood, and I know it's been said that this is the way it's always been done, but, you know, the people that are wanting to issue us the bonds, what position is that going to put us in when we need new ones? I want to do everything. I want to do it all, but I want to do it as fiscally responsible to the people of Franklin County. And the road department, yeah, that's first and foremost. But I don't want to cut off my toe when I'm getting ready to run a race.
I don't think anybody is saying that. I think it's very clear that this will not affect our bonding capacity for whatever the new fiscal court wants to do at the park. It's been very clear with that. Would you agree to that, Keith?
Yes, I mean, this financing, again, goes to the road and then other capitals, so whatever's not spent on the road can still go towards the park.
But if they need $15 million more, there's an opportunity to go.
Correct.
through this process
The
over.
county's legal debt capacity is roughly 83.4 million.
And how much do we have?
That's the available balance today.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, before any of this financing.
Okay, so everybody
That's what I mean
understands
by the
that.
legal
Okay,
capacity.
We have $83 million capacity, and this is part of the process, so we can start moving forward and start paying for the new road department that this court has very much committed to do.
Yes, I agree.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I had a question because Squire Booth and I sat on the Finance Committee meeting, or on the Finance Committee, and the last time we issued bonds, the Finance Committee met with Grant Satterley, and we had a lengthy
Yeah.
series of meetings to discuss that. Matter of fact, a couple in a row. Did we?
Keiko.
Yeah, so did we shop it among, just,
Yes, I had, yes. What
Did
was the
we-
best
did we
avenue?
do the-
We talked about going with Keiko, and our Compass said that they felt like they could get us better interest rates.
But did we have a meeting with Keiko and talk with them to officially get rates from them?
Compass checked that out for us. I did not have a meeting with them.
We handle the KECO program.
You handle
I
Keiko
understand.
part
Yeah.
too, yes.
And their rate was higher than what you offered, or,
I guess to back up, the way the program works versus doing an issue on your own, that's the comparison, right? So KECO has a program, or you can go issue your debt directly. Both programs are accessing the capital markets. And so you have to do an interest rate comparison based on credit is really what it comes down to. And so KECO can't take advantage of you can't issue bank qualified debt through the KECO program because they're over the 10 million on an annualized basis. And then based upon our analysis of your credit profile, you would have an equal or probably slightly better credit rating than what the KECO program has. And so that was the basis, given the size of this project relative to what you all did last time. So there's some economies in that program. It's a very successful program. We're proud to be a part of it. But in looking at trying to, if the goal is to truly get the lowest cost of capital, our recommendation was to take advantage of what we believe is a very strong financial credit rating in the county. And we'll have an answer on that, soon, I think. And if it's not in line with what we think, then we would come back to you and say, we need to make some changes, but we don't expect that to happen. I don't know if that answered your question.
it's the size of the loan that makes a difference.
That's one of the many factors, but from your all's point of view with a project of this size, we are very confident that you're going to end up with a better overall cost of capital.
Okay.
Squire Muller, you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth, Judge. Thank you. Keith, I want to thank you. Just thinking a lot of different things, what I'm hearing is the committee hasn't got any numbers back yet. To me, this is kind of like taking a loan out on a house that's not designed yet. The Finance Committee hasn't sat and talked about our overall strategic plan between park projects and other things like that. We're in the last 40 days of this court, this is would be a huge debt moving forward. Squire Moore, I can guarantee you, this is priority for me moving forward. This will not be put behind anything at the park. I just feel like it's a little premature moving forward with this now, knowing all those things. So I just wanted to share that with the court.
Okay, you remember that it's gonna cost an additional $285,000 by not moving
Well,
forward, and that's.
And the interest
Well,
rates
probably
have been
more
dropping.
with
Probably, yeah, what the
They've been
interest rates
dropping.
are gonna cost.
They're
even more.
dropping. The interest rates have been dropping.
No.
Especially this
I don't-
month. I just
Ted's
called.
talking about going up again.
I'm just telling you. on
What
these
kind of
bonds.
interest rates? You
So,
mean
bond.
bonds, okay.
All right, Keith, I'm sorry, I never, in my wildest dreams, I never thought it would get to this point, but it looks like, we're not gonna be able to, we're just gonna have to take this off the table, and I'll leave it, with the new court. I don't, Marty, you're for it, moving forward or not?
Yes.
And Lambert, I am. Is anybody else for moving it forward? I know, but I can't, I'm not gonna put it up there on a first reading if that's not fair, because we got a lot of people. We got DLG, we got Moody's, we got Compass, we're gonna have to shut it down, and then I'm sure we're gonna get a bill from Compass, and I don't blame them for what we've done, but, Keith, I apologize, I'm sorry. Unless somebody speaks up real quickly for a fourth vote to move it forward, to go through the process, I'm gonna shut her down.
Well, I want to make a comment. When I was first elected magistrate, I very quickly learned that the road department was the most available way to connect with your constituents. Everybody has to drive the roads. The road department takes care of them. And the state really depends on the counties to take care of the roads. And there's probably, in my opinion, there's not another department that has the potential to connect with our constituents as the road department does. And I feel that we should move, and I know that Squire Muller, I used to call you Mueller. Okay. Squire Muller was the first one to suggest that we upgrade the road department. And I was thinking, why didn't I do that, But I didn't, and he did, and I think that we should move forward because of the fact that they have such a responsibility, and they're the most noticed of our services by the citizens of Franklin County.
John Mitchell, are you on? John Mitchell? I bet you're spinning right now. John Mitchell, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you hear where this is going? Have you had conversations with Codell and Pelosi?
Yeah, we meet usually every week, and we're still hashing out some things. It looks like some of the geo drilling came back bad, so we're having to actually take some stuff and move some things around to get on some good solid ground. We're supposed to meet again next week. We're changing some design. If I call, it'll come down some.
John, you're cutting out.
The soft storage.
We talked about putting salt storage down at the Home Street lot.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. It just seems like more of a headache for us.
Could be.
I mean, if that's what it comes to, that's what it is. So.
Yeah.
John, what are your thoughts about not stopping this process and waiting for the new court to come in on the process?
I still think we're making some big adjustments. I think we're going to change the design of our storage, maybe from, a metal frame building to a wood frame building. So that is going to cut some costs. And it may help on time-wise on getting materials a little faster. I don't know. It seems like they keep things at least 6 months. But I mean, we don't have to pay for them until we get them, I assume.
Right, well,
No, but you gotta have the money on hand before you can order it.
Right.
all right.
So is there a way, Judge, is there a way that the finance committee can sit down and try to understand, as we did last time when Mr. Satterley came in, whomever else can be part of that, just so we have some kind of level of understanding about how this process would roll out? I mean, we did that in 2 short order meetings before, when we did let the bonds for the fire truck and the energy project. And that could be something that could get started.
Well, yeah,
So the
that's what's
process-
gonna happen from here, when we close this down, that's what's gonna happen. But the reason we're here today is because the 1st of December is the last day DLG meets to approve the bonds for 2022 going into 2023. This process has gone through up to this point, and I thought it was recommended by Compass that to get your best rates, you need to get this on the table now. Plus, you're gonna save $285,000. So, I mean, I think anybody in their right mind would have done the same thing, and I apologize we didn't get to the financial committee to do it. But I'm looking out, in my opinion is for the best interests of the people in this community, and that we are the fiscal court, and I'm trying to save money for the fiscal court and the county taxpayers. And by not doing this, we're gonna pay an additional $285,000, plus the interest rates are going, well, no, there's no maybe about that one, because it goes up 20 points starting next year. So I don't know about any maybes, but I'm trying to do what's best for us to get the most money at the cheapest rate. And that doesn't seem to be the popular idea, and I apologize for that.
The rate is how the interest rate is how we're saving the money, 285,000.
It's the points. Will you explain that again, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna pay for this debt over a period of time, right? And so your interest rate is gonna be a large portion of the overall total project cost. So if you can borrow at a lower rate of 20, 25 basis points over the total life of your financing, that's where that 200 and some.
That's where the
That's where the
285,
estimate comes from,
okay.
yeah. But what you're comparing that to is, where we're at today. And so what you don't know is where we're gonna be in the future. And, if we all knew
Yeah.
that, we wouldn't be here. So,
Right.
we were just trying to present an idea to, in terms of, if you're ready to go, you're gonna spend some money, you can lock in and eliminate interest rate risk altogether. Once you've accessed the capital, your rates are fixed, they're not gonna change. And if it's affordable and it makes sense in the grand scheme of the bigger picture plan, and that was kind of the concept. And not knowing the timing and the money needs and all that, all that's coming together. So that's the concept in terms of what that plan would entail. The process to as the judge laid out from a practical standpoint, a timeline is how we refer to it. That's the same regardless of whether you're borrowing $500,000 or 30 or 40 million.
Okay.
So,
So did our,
hold on one second.
Okay.
So I want to make this clear. If we decided that we wanted to go with this, but we ended up only needing $1.5 million. And
We just
6 months from now, the fiscal court said, well, now with our 4.5 million and our 1.5 million, looks like we're gonna have enough to pay for the road department. Now, though, we've got a parks department that we want, and it's gonna be $12 million. How would that process work if you still had, if you had 8 million approved, but you only used, well, let's say 1 million. So you got 7 million, there's a possibility there, but could you go back and refinance and go back and redo the rest of that money as a bond, or what, how would you do that?
So, what we're talking about is giving you long-term, lowest fixed cost rate, right? So in exchange for that, you're gonna give up some quote-unquote prepayment flexibility for about a 10-year period. So that payment schedule is locked. So what you would do is then come in with the difference that you needed to fund the rest of it and borrow again, go through the same process over again, but you would just bridge the difference. So whatever surplus from the first deal, you look at your total capital cost needs again, and you would just borrow the difference, and we could structure that debt on top of the existing debt and wrap it around the countywide debt.
So it's not gonna hurt us in any way. It may be even beneficial to us. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, your overall cost of capital as an interest rate is going to determine that, right? So no one can predict exactly, you can't access the capital at the absolute lowest terms, but what's going to dictate, the strategy is going to be what you borrowed at today versus what you borrowed then, and then you're doing a comparison. And so that would be the value. Again, it's just a matter of, trying to figure out what your needs are, right? This seems to be a moving target. I understand that completely. Us telling you, well, if you do it today, you can potentially save some money and take advantage of this. And it's, as the judge mentioned, a couple $100,000 and looking at it just today versus, what it's going to look like, 5, 6, 7 months from now, or however long it takes.
Okay, Squire Sebastian?
20 days.
Thank you, Judge. So if we have a standing bond currently that has multiple projects under the umbrella of that bond, can we add on top of to the existing bond at the existing bond rate? Did I hear you?
No.
Okay, so, but if we took the bond out that you're talking about, you just said we could layer on top of that, so I'm not.
But you're gonna issue it again in the future. You're gonna go do the same process all over again to authorize and approve the additional debt to fund your other projects that you don't have enough money from the original
So it
financing.
would be a standalone bond.
You could use the leftover, but you'd have to finance
I
the
got that
rest.
part, I got. So
You're not-
why wouldn't the same stand to reason for the bond that we have for the energy project if things come in and they pay for themselves?
That's been.
How is that different?
It's not different. You can't.
Well, because that's been closed out, but, so we have no money
It'd be a
left
new
on
rate,
that,
though,
on
the
that
rest of it.
energy.
When you all authorized that project, it was for that project.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're talking about, when you say general obligation, it would have to be for multi-use.
You're conflicting I'm probably going into too much industry jargon, but general obligation means the county's commitment to pay the debt. So you have a general obligation, full faith and credit. It supports these general obligation bonds, and it also supports your general obligation lease for the energy project through CAECO. But you cannot take money from that project if you had money left over and authorize it over here unless it was thought that was part of that original authorization. You could go back in and reallocate those dollars and do it that way if you had that. The IRS, again, we're borrowing tax exempt, so you have to spend it on an authorized capital project. So you have IRS rules, and you also have state law rules, which governs your ordinance process and what was county law. So roundabout way you could do there, but what it was originally authorized for wouldn't currently allow you to spend any surplus money in a separate area without the court taking action to do something to change that. And we would need to consult a tax attorney on that as well. But the way that the language is in this ordinance, we were contemplating other capital needs, and so there was language inserted to allow for the parks projects that you were considering, because we didn't want to bind you on a project that you didn't know the full dollar cost yet, or what you were going to spend on it. So we're intending to give you all flexibility to address it.
Go ahead, Squire Tracy.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to.
No, you're fine. So I guess my question would be, knowing what we've been presented, 7 and change, knowing what we've got budgeted, if this facility turns out to be over 7 million, how much do you anticipate going to another project? Because this is really not about more projects for me. I think there's a commitment for the road department. But again, when you're looking at what we're borrowing, and I know it's gonna come in higher than what we got budgeted. But again, you're not going to the bank asking for, hey, let me get X amount because I'm gonna spend this amount. For me, I wanna see a good solid number of what it's gonna cost and go from there, instead of, let's just get X because we hope it comes in. And obviously, the numbers that have been used, according to you, were the highest estimate that was received.
Yeah, so again, we need to make sure that you're gonna, within, I would call small margin of error, understand where that you're gonna spend the money. And so if we're not, if it's not 8 million, if it's 7 million or 6, we just need to ratchet the number down to that point. That decision doesn't have to be made tonight. That's something that can be determined later. We do need to, if we're gonna do it in this calendar year, then you would, as the judge mentioned, we're just up against the end of the year, holidays and all that kind of stuff, which just kind of forced this, probably feels like urgency of the whole issue. But again, we're just trying to understand your needs, your goals, your objectives, and then design a plan of finance around it that is as optimal as we can and mitigates the risk. So in that situation, if we could pin down a cost that was reasonable, you can have a certain amount of contingency built into that number. And then if you and keep in mind that the advantage to that, and rates being a little bit up, is you also can invest these monies before you're spending it, so you'll get interest income off of the bond proceeds as well. Is to get it to a number that's agreeable, and then if cost comes in slightly lower, that money then would go to pay your debt service. So, in other words, it would offset your first interest payment or your first principal payment, any surplus money. What we don't want to get into is a situation where that's not a reasonable number. I mean, every project we're involved with has some residual balance to it, or it's short. I mean, we've had projects that come in short. I mean, I said we usually, this isn't a unique situation to you all where people have tried to lock in the cost of capital for various different reasons. But if you undershot that number, then the solution would be to borrow more in the future to cover that, or you'd have to tap into general funds or road funds, or we call it pay-go through your budgetary process. So there's solutions on both sides of the scenario, but we're not advising by any stretch to rush through a project if we can't really derive at a true number.
So let me ask you this question. It was as this scenario. What if we have $4.5 million in our budget? What if we know that this is going to be somewhere between 5 and 8, and we've got 8 in there? We know it's going to be less than 8. We took the $4.5 million and pulled it out of there, went ahead and bonded the whole road department project with these monies. Took that 4.5 and put it towards the park, and used it as a payment for whatever the future court is moving towards for bonding for the park. And that in itself would help that rate, because it wouldn't be as much, anticipating that the rates are going to be higher on those monies. Could it be done?
I'm trying to make sure I
Okay.
follow the question.
So in other words,
correctly.
we're gonna take our money, we're gonna pay, if we said, all right, we've been approaching this the wrong way. Let's just borrow the whole amount, bond the whole amount for what it's gonna cost to do the road department. And we know we budgeted $4.5 million, and it's probably down to about roughly 4 million. So instead, we know that there's another project out there. We know what it is. We know, we don't know what the cost is, but we know it's coming. So then you take that 4 million that was there for the road department, and you put it in a reserve for the new project that the new members of the court are saying, this is what we're gonna do at the park. So then you've got 4 million to come off the top of, you're using that as the amount to pay for the new park project.
You're saying that we should forget about the budget plan and fund the whole thing through bonds.
If there's so much worry about bonding for the park, then let's help the park out and use that money and lock in this rate for the road department.
Well, that's what this does anyway, but on the flip side of that, we could bond 4 million and that would give us the 8 we need. If we've got 4 million set aside for this, use 4 million cash and 4 million bond.
I'm saying it the other way around.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you take 4 million and it'll take 4 million off the bond on the park, is what I'm saying is you reduce the amount that you're going to bond on the park as opposed.
Well, I wanted to say something to Squire Tracy about them lowering the price. If they found out they've got bad soil and have to change stuff around, Codell's the one that does the pricing, and he's not gonna go out on a limb and say, well, we can save you $500,000 here or something, until he's got rock solid designs and what he's gonna do there. So I don't blame him for not coming to us with something.
No, I don't disagree, and just to bring it back in, for me, this is about the road department. This isn't about any other projects. It's about the road department. But again, we've been asking, bring us back, give us ideas. I think the last one we talked about was, John had said, hey, I'd really like to have a wash bay. We referenced, can the wash bay be moved up to the smaller facility? What would it be? We haven't heard anything. So for me, I'm looking at it like,
Well,
we haven't heard anything, so obviously those are the numbers that you used.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's where
I
I'm at. I
don't see
just
the
want
numbers
the
going
numbers.
down myself though, because it's.
All right,
nature of the
we're an hour into our meeting and we're still on the first item of the agenda, so.
Well, could we do the first reading and we'd have until Monday to everybody get their heads straight whether they want to vote on it or not?
Okay. Fine with me.
Can Compass come back?
But if they're just now getting drills, samples back and stuff, I don't blame them for not coming back.
No, I mean, can Compass,
Yeah, we'd be happy to, whatever setting y'all.
I think it's Monday at 4 o'clock. Monday
But
at
the
4.
money's gonna have to be.
I think RJ said he could be here at that time.
Well,
I mean, it's not.
we can have the money.
Yeah, I can be here if he cannot, so.
The only thing about that, Lambert, and I'm totally willing to do that, is this company is a great company. And if we already know, if there's 4 of you that are truly decided no matter what, any thunderstorm or whatever happens, and you're not gonna vote for it, we're wasting their time and we're gonna be spending more money. But whatever, I'm willing to take it on and bring it back on Monday for the second reading. And unless I hear comments, don't do it. Squire Muller.
Yeah, Judge, I really appreciate the presentation. I think you can tell between this discussion, there's a lot of questions. So for me, how do we sign an $8 million bond with a lot of questions? So for me, I would love to see it go back to the committee next week to start talking about it and trying to figure some stuff out. I'd love the road crew to get some answers from OHM and, you know, with the treasurer. I mean, you know, we only have 4.6 or something, I think Amy said we have in the budget. That's a big gap there. And you said when you first started, you don't want to borrow too much and only use 5 or 6. It doesn't make sense. It's going to cost us. So, no disrespect at all, and I look forward to talking to you in the near future because this project is going to move forward. I just personally don't think we're there.
Is it? Let's see.
Since I'm not hearing from anybody else, I'll bring it, we'll have it again on, we'll do our second reading on Monday at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
No,
And
thank
I
you all.
apologize.
No,
I apologize.
I understand
I thought I was
the
doing the right
importance of
thing.
this project for you all and the community,
Whatever.
and so we want to do right by y'all, so.
Yes.
As you
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
As you dig in and there's more questions in the interim, feel free to reach out.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
How do we reach out?
I'll leave a card.
Yeah, leave a card, here, Tamara, leave it, give it.
Yeah, I may have
Tamara.
enough cards. Should have done this at the beginning, but.
That's fine, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. The next item is Sheriff, after all that, you wanna come up here?
I feel like going after the clerk again.
Yeah, I drank all mine.
You want me up there with them?
Yeah,
Oh, is
bring,
it
bring
you?
the new ring up here and everything.
It's heavy.
Thank you, Keith.
Sideways.
Yeah.
So I wanted to introduce y'all to our newest bookkeepers, Miss Samantha, and she brought the numbers about the tax stuff, so be easy on her, please. It's her first time.
Hey, you say that when you speak.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Sheriff.
I'll be right here.
Okay, thank you. Like and support.
Welcome, Samantha.
Hello, I know most all of you all. Hey.
Congratulations, by the way.
Well, thank you. Here it is. Blinding. So we have collected around 26 million, which puts us at about 63% of 100% of bills that we will collect. We expect to be at about 80% at the end of the month. We haven't had a whole lot of mortgage company payments come in yet, so I'm expecting the bulk of that to rush in towards the end of the month.
Oh,
Probably be about 90% in December, and then it kind of obviously trickles off in January. So overall, we're supposed to collect around 45 million.
When you say sit at the end of the month, you mean the end of the month of November?
November,
Okay.
yes, sir, yep.
at the end of the month, 145 million, or are you talking about the whole?
So overall, we are supposed to collect 45 million. That's not to say we will, because that's why it gets turned over to Jeff at the county clerk's office to collect the ones that didn't get paid.
I'll say this, though, they generally collect around 97 to 98%.
Yeah, I think last year was 98%.
At the end of December? Or the
At the end of tax collection.
At the end of tax?
April 15th, yep.
Oh, okay.
Samantha, would you
Yes.
know, so you're saying 80% by the end of November, is that same as it was last year? Or is that a bit?
Yeah, that's
better number?
around almost, I think last year was 81%, maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
So pretty consistent with last year?
Very consistent. Yep.
And then last year, one other question, what was the total amount collected? Do you remember, do you know?
Was it 42 million?
I don't remember. but
41 or
we're up
42?
like 3 million, I think.
Yeah. 3 million more this year, hopefully.
And the discount ends? in
The end
this
of November,
November.
yeah. And even if we get mail, which we always do, that comes in after the end of November, if it's postmark dated November 31st, we'll take it at the 2% amount.
November 30th.
30th, I'm sorry. Thank you, Marty.
I don't know which, but I do know that.
Yeah.
Questions? Any questions?
So I guess, Mr. Hancock there, so let's say we go 97, 98, the balance gets turned over to Commonwealth Attorney, is that what happens?
Yeah, it comes to my office.
It comes to you.
They get to the
What
guy
happens?
without the gun.
April 15th.
On April the 15th, I get all the remainder of the delinquent taxes. We advertise them, we put the shame list, and it's not us, the KRS makes us.
Okay.
So at that point, we'll collect, out of the taxes that are left, we will end up collecting or selling about 90% of those, the available tax rate. You end up with about 10% that we carry on our books. And quite frankly, they're just not, they're not collectible tax bills. They get where they're just not collectible.
And I've been to the debt sale. That's a very interesting thing to watch,
Yeah.
just to watch that debt sale.
And we collect every type of payment there is. I mean, this year we've got it all, so we were joking everything but your blood samples, so we take everything. Yeah, try to make it easy.
Okay, any questions for Samantha? Sheriff, what's the process for your budget? Where are you with that? Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We're gonna have it for the December meeting. The big difference is we're gonna put a 3% cost of living raise in for everyone. And other than that, I mean, I don't expect a whole lot of difference in our budget. We hadn't got into it, but we'll have it for you. But that's our goal, 3% raise for everybody.
Yeah, we got a letter.
Okay. Can you give us an update on how the electric vehicles are doing and holding up and being charged and all that? Because that was a pretty big ticket item, and so it's now, I guess, 6 months, a little over 6 months that you've had?
Yeah, we'll have you more details about savings in the budget, but they're doing really good.
That's
We're
good.
charging, we have 2 chargers at the office. A couple deputies had chargers put in their house on their own. And then Mr. Cop, this is a great part, he's putting them in the high school, the middle schools, and the academy chargers, so the deputies that stay there can charge at work.
Wow.
So, you know, when you have 9 electric vehicles, you all bought us 6, we bought 3 more for admin folks. So you know that's 9 vehicles, you saving $400 a month at least in fuel. So we'll have a little better report when we do our budget.
Okay, good.
But it's definitely, we haven't had any big issues with them. Of course, they're under the warranty. I think people's used to them. They know that we're gonna have them, so it's working good.
Squire Tracy?
Thank you. Sheriff, in regards to your 3%, it says the 2023 budget. That means it'll go into effect in January.
Right, yes.
That's for everybody. That's not just for the sheriff's department, that's for Jeff's department, that's for all employees.
What I'm saying though is you will start your
January
3%
Right.
January 6th.
I think that's how we've always did it, yes.
Whatever
Okay.
the regular date is.
Right.
We're fee offices, and I don't mean to jump in, but we can only pay out of that fee office. So it'll be whatever that first paycheck that we can actually pay will be whenever. Sometimes that incorporates the last 2 days of December, sometimes it goes 4 days into January.
Okay.
It all depends on how it falls on the calendar.
So for you two, it'd be.
Yeah. it's-
Okay.
We can only pay 26 pay periods.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Sheriff and Samantha, congratulations, Samantha. and
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff, we appreciate it.
What's your name
Okay.
gonna be then?
Hyatt.
I didn't say anything about it. so
I
don't you want me to?
know. Thanks for being easy on me. This time.
All right, thank you.
Okay. The next item is the authorization approval of minutes from our regular meeting of November the 4th. Any questions on that? The next one is authorization to approve the cost of living increase to all county employees effective with the January 6, 2023 pay date. We just heard the sheriff, and we're authorizing that we're asking that for all employees effective that date. Squire Tracy?
So just to make sure I'm clear, the 3% will not be added onto the employee's salary until the first pay period of January. Is that correct?
First pay date.
Pay date of January.
And the first pay date of January would be January, I think I have that in here, January 6th.
Okay, so what weeks would that be covering? That would be covering weeks in December?
Yes, it would be covering
That's what I just asked, and I said, no.
Well,
they wouldn't.
it's a pay period, you're right, it's a pay period that is some days in December. But it's the pay date, and that's just what we did in previous years as well, it's the very first pay date.
Okay. And have we received official word from DLG in
No.
regards to what the COLA will be?
No, we
No,
have not.
we saw what normally they base it on, it was 8.2% cost of living. What is it?
7.7.
I'm sorry, 7.7.
And would anybody from the compensation committee like to speak on this?
I'll speak on it. I'm a member of the compensation committee. I think it's well deserving by the employee, for the employees. The elected officials'
Don't have it.
cost of living is going to be a lot higher than that. But I will say this, that the employees got a 5% in July 1st, and this 3% gives them 8%, so it keeps them up with us.
Yeah, but they got a 5%. Let's not forget, we got 5% in January, 5% in July. It was 5% COLA. July, they got 2% for a 7% COLA, and then a 3% because of the compensation study, to be a total of 10% in
Okay.
2022.
Okay.
So that's why I was asking about DLG.
Oh.
Have they given that official
They won't
recommendation?
come out.
We normally don't get that till the middle of January.
They won't come out in January.
Okay.
Wow, 10%.
Squire Muller?
Amy, do we know what it's gonna cost our budget?
Yes, it will be, the impact on wages will be 110,000. And, we'll end up having to do probably an amendment, towards the end, that final quarter for that.
I'm waiting. It's okay.
What?
I'm just
Oh,
waiting.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna wait till you're ready. Are you
I
ready?
am.
Okay, go.
Yeah, thank you,
Go.
Judge.
You can speak up without your hand.
So that's the impact on the wages. What's the impact on the benefits? Because, so that we have the true budgetary picture, because that's just one part of it.
Right, retirement, social security, and Medicare is 48,000, so total of 158,000.
Okay, and then how will that increase payout for those who separate in service at year's end? Will that impact, so if they have a huge comp balance, like for me, for example, I retired December 31 on the year that I retired, December 31. I stayed and worked till the very last possible second. They needed it, and I stayed. So with this 3%, those folks leaving at that point, you said the pay period's gonna involve that, so that leave balance, they're gonna be paid out at the higher rate?
That's a good question. I think we probably need to ask Betty Jo.
Betty Jo, are you on?
I am. Hold on, I'm trying to get my, yes, I'm on. The effective date is actually December 18th. The pay period, December 18th through, December 31st, to be paid on January 6th. So, if I have an employee that is resigning, for an example, if I have an employee that is resigning December 31st, they would get the 3% rate, because that's the whole pay period.
For that one pay period, that's,
Correct, for that one pay period, because it starts December 18th.
But that's that wasn't the question.
okay, I'm sorry, I thought that was a question too.
No, the question is, so let's say I have 240 hours of comp time. I did.
I did too.
I had the max that you could possibly have because I worked like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Our max is 50.
So for example, so the difference is, so there's that, and depending on what tier that you're in, you get to count your leave balance back toward your salary. So I'm trying to figure out the overall cost of this won't just be $158,000 potentially. So I'm just trying to figure in my mind, because what I understand is this kicks in December, so it kicks in this calendar year. So say, just like me, I retired December 31, so then my whole leave balance and everything else that I'm walking out the door with is going to be paid at a higher rate just because of the date I chose.
Is that right, Betty? Do you understand?
That's correct.
That's
Yeah,
correct,
the
but-
3%, if somebody leaves December 31st and they have 250 hours of comp time, they will be getting paid at their current rate. That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. And so based on this, when it goes into effect is what I think we're all trying to figure out is when it goes into effect.
Yeah, I don't understand why it goes into effect in December. It ought to go into effect in January.
Yeah, that's, I think my point.
Just because they get paid for December and January, it shouldn't be in effect until
So-
they're working in January.
Well,
That's why
that
I'm
was
asking.
discussed, and the last time we did that, they didn't get it, their first paycheck, and everybody, you all got calls, and everybody was wondering, how come we didn't get our 3% raise, on our January paycheck? And that
Because it's
was-
work
From December.
In
it's
December.
work done in
Yeah.
December. It's not work done in January.
That was,
Just
that
my
was the
opinion.
discussion. I mean, that's fine, let's do it that way if that's the way you wanna do it,
Doesn't
I don't
matter to
care.
me.
If
Judge,
the court-
just like, Amy and I pulled and what Amy was talking about, she's correct. She just pulled the last 20 years of how it's been done. So that's why she said the pay period. That's just how it's been done. So if
We
you
don't
all
have
wanna
to do it
change-
that way if you don't want, if the court doesn't want to.
Right. If you want to do a pay date for January 20th, then that would be a pay period starting January 1 through January 15th. The first 2 weeks of January, and they will be getting paid January 20th with that increase.
Oh, that sounds
If that's-
reasonable.
If that's what you all want to do.
What do you think?
Okay, I vote for that. I mean, when it's time. If it is time, I don't know.
Everybody, is there consensus on that?
Yeah, that's where my questions was earlier. Sorry I wasn't clear, but that's what I was
It's
asking
gonna have to be
earlier.
that way for the clerk's office. We have a
Yeah.
retirement,
Yeah.
I'm in a fee base, I'm not gonna have a choice, I'm gonna have one retiring that I gotta cover anyway, and I've gotta cover those hours, so it's gonna have to be that way from the fee office, from my fee office, just so I stay within budget, which I'll go into when we go into my own budget, but from my budget perspective, and this is not to step on anybody else's toes, I have to stay within that fee budget to make it the next calendar year. So it's gonna have to, I think.
And does that work the same for the sheriff? My presumption is?
Yeah, we're a fee-based office
Yeah,
as well.
because of the
So-
fee-based. Which is why I'm asking the question. I guess everybody's on the bus now. So,
Okay. Sounds like, well, Betty, it sounds like we'll do it January 1st, starting January 1st for that time, January 1st time period.
So
To be
there's-
paid out January 20th.
That's
The
correct.
second pay date, yes.
That's correct.
So that needs to be changed to January 20th pay date.
Because that's what you call the January 20th pay date, which starts January 1st, right?
Second.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Judge, can I say anything?
Sure, I'm sorry.
So Amy, you being the new treasurer and stuff, how does that affect our overall budget? I mean, I'm always one of these, can we afford it, kind of guys, without knowing the future.
Well, we haven't budgeted for that increase. So what we'll do, I mean, we can go ahead and do a budget amendment at the 1st of January, but I would say let's wait closer to the end of our fiscal year, just to see how it plays out. There could be changes where the budgeted amount is there, that will cover it. So, but if it doesn't, then we'll do a budget amendment, and, move it where it needs to go.
Are you comfortable with doing it this way?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Thank
Will
you.
you pin that?
Okay.
All
right.
Running into your feet.
All right, everybody understand where we are? Okay? Still a positive change for our employees. So, that's what this is all about. So thank you. The next item, Mr. Hancock, we're gonna bring you up.
I'll stand up there with you.
And we're gonna.
Y'all let her
you're
do
on-
it so
you're on
easy,
your own.
I'm not bringing her back up here.
You're-
Sheriff ain't never got a chance to in his life.
I mean, it was gonna be
I
bad.
tried to pave the way.
And by the way, before you get started, thank you, and thank your staff, and all of those people out there to make voting so good in our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Guys, I'd love to come back in December the 16th and redo, but I'm not gonna be in town. So that's why I'm presenting today, and that's why I'm pushing through today. I wanna start though by publicly thanking you, Houston. You had some faith in me 8 years ago. And I know I've done.
I faith in you now too, brother.
I know I've done it privately, but publicly, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to work for this great community. To the retiring magistrates, I've learned a lot from you. I've learned, just all the way up and down the line, your wisdom has been greatly appreciated. So to both of you, thank you. I look forward to working with you, the new magistrates, but to the going out court, thank you. You've done a lot for this community. I know it's not always easy sitting at this table. I know the bickering, the arguing, the how do we get from point A to point B is a tough road to toe, but thank you. Thank you, publicly.
Thank you,
You're
appreciate
welcome.
those words, thank you.
All right, where are we at? On my budget. I'm watching trends right now. My motor vehicle trends are trending. I'm having the worst quarter I've ever had. I did not move my motor vehicle influx up. I'm not seeing the transfers that I've seen in the past. Now that could all change. Remember, I've still got a month and a half or a little better than a month for car transfers and for dealerships to pick up. But right now, I'm not gonna give you a budget that doesn't show a trend of what I'm seeing, which is a flat budget on car transfers and motor vehicle transfers. I didn't give you any increase in your land records. The only increases I gave you were in, unfortunately, salary, but also in elections. Your cost in elections, and you all just got back from KCO, folks. You know what's coming down the pike. You're all gonna be buying e-poll books.
What's
They've
gonna
given,
happen? For those who didn't go to KCO.
the e-poll books, the state is taking all their e-poll books back, what we sign in with, and they're making them the county responsibility. There's a $25 million outlay. They're gonna try to do this before the May primary, but this is not something that, they're gonna reimburse you back on them, but that's gonna be a cost that we're just gonna have to come to the table and talk about, because we can't do elections in the style and the way that we have changed to do them, going back to a paper roster, nor are they ever gonna print them again. So that's something that you need to be prepared for, that we've got coming down the pike in elections. Elections, regardless of how we're doing them, we're gonna have to continue to add fees and funds to them. We are, a lot of people are open more locations, open more locations, open more locations. Guys, you realize our locations have to be ADA accessible? So if you want me to open another ADA accessible location, you're gonna have to find me one in your magisterial district that'll work. We are working hard on a day in, day out basis. Elections aren't gonna get any cheaper. And I'm preparing you for that. $250 this year, and we'll end up having to amend that budget if we have to buy 48 e-poll books. So,
So you said the state, pardon me. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
said the state was going to take those back
yes, ma'am.
and then reimburse the county for whatever the depreciation cost of.
We never bought
Did
them. They were purchased by the state. Allison Grimes pushed this through as a way to get rid of the static rosters. That's what the rest of the country was doing at the time. She signed a contract with the 10X, the people that are currently the e-poll book provider that the entire state of Kentucky is using.
Okay.
When they rewrote House Bill 547 last year, is it 547 or 647? They were parallel years. They put that it was going to become a county's responsibility. They also put the $25 million in the budget to pay for all these. But what they didn't put in the budget is $200 per e-poll book for me to keep the software up on, for me to keep the
So is that a maintenance
MiFis,
license?
it's a maintenance license. It's what-
Every year, I'm assuming it's
every
annual.
year. And so you can see where it quickly becomes money.
Yeah.
It becomes money regardless whether I'm paying for it, and you are in a very unique situation. You're one of There's probably 3 counties in the state of Kentucky that pay for all election expenses. You're in one of them, where your county clerk pays for all the election expenses. But it's all money at the end of the day. If you paid for them, and then I gave you back more in excess fees, it's still, somebody's gotta pay for it. So it's either excess fees, or it's, I mean, you're gonna get it back one way or the other. You're either gonna pay for it up front or pay for it later. We chose in this last budget to pay for it up front. It's gone pretty well this year. But they're just gonna continue to increase. And I'm not giving you a gloom and doom. We're gonna be able to handle it all. We can get through it. It's just gonna be more expensive.
How many do we have?
Right now, if y'all remember, I was the Pallet County for the state of Kentucky. So
I just don't remember the number.
we had 88 of them. I cut that number in half to 48 for what it's gonna take to actually run it correctly. And you saw elections. We voted 20,000, we voted 5,200 people at early voting. I mean, that's unbelievable. 20,000 total, and we had lines all day long. I've got to figure out how, because I don't want Franklin County residents, I want lines, but I don't want them to have to stand in lines. We had 552 people voted the Fallen Fire Station, which newsflash, it ain't ADA accessible. I'm just gonna keep on calling the bluff until somebody calls it on me.
We didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Mr. Hancock.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, after this initial 25 million is dispersed across the state to purchase these new e-poll books that the counties are responsible for.
Yep.
My presumption is that's a one-time because you have the unfunded mandate of the maintenance after that. And
Yes,
then
ma'am.
after that, we're gonna have the unfunded mandate of bringing those e-poll books to the county.
Yes.
Or, I'm assuming there wasn't some kind of.
There's always gonna be, there's never, are you gonna have this product where it doesn't have to pay a licensing fee every
Yeah.
single year.
Right.
They
but-
do that to protect their software and their hardware. So it's gonna be, I mean, right
I
now,
understand.
it's $200 an e-poll book.
So you've got that as one, but the lifespan of an e-poll book is, I don't know.
My guess
Make it
is
sound.
5 to 7 years.
All right, so let's say it's 5 years or 6 years.
Yeah.
So at that point, then it's gonna be the responsibility of the county to purchase the new e-poll books.
Absolutely.
Which adds another layer of unfunded mandate, and I'm just trying to
Yes,
say that
unfunded
like 4
mandate.
times so everybody understands
Yes,
that we're gonna be
unfunded
buying.
mandate.
That's something we're gonna have to plan for.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
In future.
Yep.
The Microsoft product got a 10-year waiver. I went through their entire product list, got a 10-year waiver. But the Apples only have 5 years that they won't change the ISO
Okay,
on them.
okay.
So, and I think I'm telling you that right, don't hold me exactly.
It's okay, I'm just
Thank
trying to
you.
understand kind of the lifespan and where we need to start setting expectations from the finance committee and the strategic planning committee. These things need to kind of go on a list so we don't forget them and all of a sudden they pop up and it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
here we go.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Jeff, do you know off the top of your head what your budget was last year?
And overall income, or I don't.
Okay.
I don't know it right off the top of my head. This is almost a continuation of the budget. I did not add any increased base
It basically
for motor
is a
vehicle.
continuation.
I think in the past, we've talked about Saturdays and extended hours, and obviously you're running, I don't want to say skeleton crew, but pretty close.
Yeah.
How's that going, or is it still being offered, or is it something you're gonna look at going back to?
I'm
Any idea?
probably not going
Okay.
to. I never could find value in it.
Okay.
If we can find a way, A, we're gonna have to find ways to pay for it.
Right.
But B, we're gonna have to find people to come in and use
I
it.
got you.
With all the options that they've offered, online renewals, you can do almost everything in my office with the exception of transfers, and that, I don't look for that to change. Even if Cavis gets rolling, I don't look for that to change in the next 15 or 20 years. I really don't. I mean, I look for renewals to continue to get out of my office. I look for the workflow of the actual renewal. I'm walking in there, I'm Scotty Tracy, I'm just gonna renew my car. I look for those to continue to decrease. I look for more of those to be online, to be services that they can do over the internet.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. So what about passports? How has that been? Have you seen an uptick in passports through your office? Is that kind of level?
I have.
Got a range?
I think we ought to let the county take those over and run them. I'm not, and passports are one of those things that we can't schedule for. And the problem is, I won't make people get online and schedule through a portal, because I think it's not very good customer service to tell somebody you can't do something. We're only running 2 passport people. And then all of a sudden you'll look up, and it's 3:15 in the afternoon, and you got 11 people standing in line wanting a passport. And they all take about a 45-minute period of time to get them done.
So-
They're really,
How successful, that's kind of what I'm asking, how successful, have you seen it grow since you implemented it? And then, or do you forecast for it to grow by, I mean, you gotta forecast something.
we're getting growth every year. Most of our business, Anderson, Scott, Shelby, they are rolling in here one after another. We are picking up their constituents as much as we're helping ours, quite frankly, because we're the ones offering it without an appointment. Everybody knows that at this point. Everybody knows that. I mean, they're coming in one right after another, and they're coming in from all over central Kentucky. It's a service that we need to continue to offer. It's not a huge hindrance until I'm running an election. And then it is an absolute burden.
You are taking pictures, I guess, too.
Yeah. It's a burden, and I would tell you if it's not, once we get into elections, it is a burden that's almost overcoming. Because we don't have any more space. We can't just make a new space. Man, you're running an election and you're doing passports at the same time. You have people walking into early vote, and it's just the dynamics of it get very tough. They really add a lot of stress to the entire process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? That was your lump sum, and now your annual order?
Yes, sir. And guys, I've been asked more than one time, this is a 3% on the face, but you also got to realize, I've got 2 that are getting their incentive base from being there as brand new trainees. They've been through their 6-month period. Thank God we have 2 that we can give this to that stayed with us. We have 2 that are moving to supervisors, that are moving from regular department that we talked about in the beginning. It's fine to make everybody climb up the ladder, but once they climb the ladder, you got to pay them. So you got 2 supervisors that are going to need that. And then I've got 1, you have pay in here for 1 that I'm not sure when they're coming back. I mean, but at any given time, they have the right to come back to their job. They're on FMLA. I cannot take that money out of the budget. So they're there, and as soon as she can come back, we're going to take her back with open arms. But right now, I can't, I mean, I'm just at the disadvantage of, I've got to keep the spot open in there. Or not a disadvantage, let me rephrase how I said that. We want to keep the spot open in there for them. But I can't do any, I can't take it out of the budget.
So the extra money that is in there is for that, it's not for...
Well, we had to hire the extra person, we have the 3%, you have the 2 that are going from beginning salary, they're getting their training pay increase, and then you got 2 that are moving to managers. So the promotions plus 3%, plus you have 1 that the money won't go away, but I can't take it out of the budget.
Okay. Okay. Amy, do you understand how he's doing that?
Yes, thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
Because when I did the actuals, I was about 10,000 off.
Right.
That would explain that.
Yeah.
So it looks to me from everything that I've used with my ruler, it looks about a continuation budget.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty much what it
It
looks like to
fairly
me.
much is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't,
yeah. I've moved very little around in this budget.
thank you.
All right?
Any other questions? Thank you, Jeff. Once
Thanks,
again,
guys.
Please pass
Thank
on to
you.
your staff, thank them very much for the elections.
Yeah.
Great work.
Got an article in the paper.
How many pay periods are there in this year?
It's handy
Can't
there.
be
Or
more
Betty,
than
do you know
25
that?
or 26?
26.
They're always 26.
26.
I gotta get out.
Yeah.
26.
They don't
And
want
next year, just, no, one year we had an extra.
Yeah, that was kind of a strange year. I don't know what happened with
Yeah,
that.
we had an extra.
You have an extra pay period?
All right, the next item on the agenda is Mr. Bonta, to approve, purchase of tasers over a 5-year period. Mr. Bonta.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm gonna pull what the sheriff pulled. I'm gonna let my chief present this because he worked on it. So here's Chief Masco.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Basically, our current tasers are going to be phased out in the next 2 years, and they're going to have to be replaced. We already have it budgeted in this current budget for these tasers, and all we're trying to do is go ahead and enact the sale and the purchase of that. Basically, we're going to be getting 5 years for $11,000 on the payments, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Anyone have any questions?
Yep, I don't know. Go ahead, Squire Muller, we'll just go down the line.
Thank you for being here tonight. So what is the amount that's in your budget right now for this item, please?
It is the $11,000, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. $11,000 for the first payment of this year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Go ahead, sorry.
Chief Mascom, is it found in the maintenance equipment line item, which is 03-5101-336, or is it in that specialty equipment, 03-5101-711?
It's in the specialty, ma'am.
Specialty, that's the one that has 18,000 in it? You all will find that in tab 13 if you'll pull that out, page 8 on expenses. That's where that's at. So it's in specialty, so right now, there's been a little bit expended, maybe 7-8% of that expended. So the remaining balance, the 16.6, the 11 and change is gonna come out of that and leave
Yes,
whatever
ma'am.
four and change in there for still, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, Squire Tracy, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Have these already been issued?
We don't even have them in our hand yet, no.
Okay.
This is the contract for us to be able to purchase them.
Okay, I just wanted to, because on your sheet here, it says issued 8/5 of 2022, so I just wanted to make sure. And then my next question would be, what's the difference per se? Like, I looked these up and you've got Taser 7, Taser X2, Taser X269. What's the difference between these three tasers?
There's two different variations of the Pro. For close range and long range with the newer tasers, which provides additional safety for the staff. They're more accurate than the current ones because of the laser has 2 lasers instead of just 1. So you'll be able to tell where both probes are gonna penetrate the target. And the cartridges, they're all a fixed price for the entire contract, so they're never gonna go up in this current one. And we're going to also have something that's really beneficial to us is that we're not gonna have to use the added expense to buy batteries for the tasers at $100 a pop. They're rechargeable. So we're gonna be able to save a lot on that as well.
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
That's really good.
Okay. Rich, you want to talk about the budget transfer for the radios?
Well, I was gonna let Captain Smith do that because she's the third in her off and she really wants to get in here, so one moment, please.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
So what we have is a request to move $600 from the furniture and fixtures line, which is ending 709, and move that to the communication equipment, which is ending 703. For the radios, the initial model that we had looked to order has been back ordered for quite some time, and we are in dire need of some updated radios. So The amount on here, $600, is the difference of what we would have paid for the other model. This is a newer model, so it is a little bit more expensive.
Okay. Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for being on. How many radios is in this order that is?
18.
18, so the same amount. So basically, I presume that is for a shift, and then as a shift change, tasers and radios and whatever other equipment gets turned over to the next shift.
Well,
Right.
typically they're all issued their own radio. The tasers, yes, they stay. I mean, we do have working radios. Some not enough for everyone to have. So this just replenishes what we have that doesn't work.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, hang on, Laura, let's make sure we got everybody. Hang on or Jake, we got everybody's questions?
I was just gonna add for the court too.
Okay.
Finding the radio process this time's been very, very hard. I guess it's the computer chip and all that stuff. So when we located them, we had to act on them to get them, so we wouldn't be caught without them.
Amen to that. We need that, okay? Any other questions? All right, Jake, thank you. Thank you to everybody that works at the jail, and we hope that all of you all have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Y'all have a great Thanksgiving. If anybody doesn't have any other questions for me, I'm gonna jump off and get back to work.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. The next item is, we've discussed this, it's the first reading of an ordinance of the Fiscal Court, Franklin County, Kentucky, authorizing and approving the issuance of Franklin County, Kentucky general obligation bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $8 million. The bonds. Authorizing the levy of a direct annual tax on all taxable property within the county, in addition to all other taxes in amount sufficient to pay the principal of the interest on the bonds to the extent that the revenues are not sufficient, and authorizing and taking of all other actions, including the execution, delivery of a continuing disclosure agreement, federal tax certificate, IRS Form 8038G, and such other documents, agreements, and certificates necessary or required for the issuance of the bonds, and the second reading will be held at a special call meeting at the Fiscal Court on November the 28th at 4 o'clock. The next item on the agenda is a first reading of an ordinance amending the table of a special ordinances, Section 1, zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for a 4.57 acre portion of property identified as parcel 1 of Exhibit A, located in deed book 612, page 217 of record in the office of the Franklin County Clerk. The parcel is further identified as PDA map number 094-00-00-007.00, located on North Scruggs Lane, from rural residential C district, RC, to agricultural district, AG. The second reading will be held on December the 16th. Mr. Hewitt.
Thank you, Judge, and good evening, Court.
Good evening.
So the what's commonly known as the Forks of Elkhorn Campground property was transferred in 2022 to a new buyer. The property transferred consisted of 3 tracts, and parcel 1 of the acquisition is the subject of tonight's ordinance. It's 4.57 acres, requesting to go to AG or AG. The minimum lot size for an AG zoning district is 5 acres. So if this ordinance is passed, my office will approve a consolidation plat with the remaining 2 tracts, so that this will comply with your minimum lot size for that zoning district. As such, the application was forwarded to the Franklin County Planning Commission on October 13th, 2022 for an evidentiary hearing. There was testimony and evidence entered into the record. The applicant was represented by a local attorney who represented the fact that this zone map amendment would only add an additional 5 campsites to the facility, and that the existing mobile homes that were on site were to be relocated, which I believe they already have been. The existing campsite facility is 130 spaces, and if approved, a development plan would be submitted to my office for review for various development improvements. There was one adjacent property owner that came and spoke at the meeting who requested a buffer, and the attorney indicated that he will work with his clients to ensure the buffer is in place that will be shown on the development plan that is enforceable by my office. The Planning Commission approved unanimously by a vote of 11-0 the 4 findings of fact, A through D, located at the bottom of your ordinance, and have recommended approval to the Fiscal Court at that first initial hearing. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Was there a second,
No, we're not.
was there a second hearing?
No, ma'am, not before the Planning Commission. There was limited testimony,
Okay,
and the Planning Commission made their recommendation after the initial public hearing.
okay.
Squire Tracy?
Thank you. Robert, quick question. There's a piece of property down there that's got what I would call a barn on it. Is that property a part of this?
Not a part of your ordinance this evening. No, it's not.
Okay. Okay.
You talking about where there was a previous zone change for RV storage?
Yes, I know there were some restrictions on that, so I just wanted to make sure there was no, I guess, confusion or anything like that in regards to what the request was compared to what wasn't because of some restriction had been put on, I guess, close to 8 years ago.
Yes, this is, so the request this evening is separate. This is that very narrow strip between the county's North Scruggs Lane and the private lane that goes to the existing campground that held, I think, 16 manufactured homes. So this is that narrow sliver exclusively. That's why you have an exact legal description of the property as opposed to a copy of the deed.
Right, I just wanted clarification for people watching. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Squire Blackburn?
Yeah, thank you, Robert. You said, because the smallest allowable, size of land is 5 acres for an AG designation, so it's gonna be consolidated if this does pass with land that's already existing AG,
Yes.
that's contiguous to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Other questions?
If I could just advise the court, before any campground improvements, or before a campground is established, let's say on this subject property this evening, it still has to go back before the Board of Zoning Adjustments for a conditional use permit. So if your constituents ask, the court already approved it, why am I getting notified again? Well, that's the reason, because it still has to meet certain criteria before it can be approved.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Squire Sebastian?
Thank you, Judge. Does that also come into play because the ownership of the campground has changed property hands?
Yes, well, the existing campground is a legal nonconformity. It's grandfathered in under the RC zoning. This expansion of that legal nonconformity does require the issuance of a conditional use permit under new ownership.
Okay, because of the, okay, that's what thank you. I thought
Makes
that.
sense.
Yes, and the applicant will also be requesting a variance for a building setback because based on a preliminary development plan submitted, the office is being relocated to the front of the property to receive guests at the beginning as opposed to driving all the way into the facility before you check in.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Squire Muller?
Thank you. Hey, Robert, has there been any talk about, that road, leading down to it? And obviously the bridge at the Forks with, it sounds like they're wanting to build a bigger campground. So I was just curious, is that on our radar to look at or anything?
I can address that. The health department is also an agency that regulates campgrounds. And based on information I received today, It's my understanding that North Scruggs Lane will need to be improved to accommodate the additional campsites. Now, I have not had an opportunity to discuss directly with the health department exactly what improvements. My understanding it's the increase in the width of the roadway. All right.
So is that at the cost of the owner?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's a requirement of the health department, and it's the cost of doing business.
Okay, just want to make sure it wasn't going to fall on us. So, okay, thank you.
No, sir.
Okay, anyone else for that item? All right, Robert, if you'll stay on, we're gonna switch a little bit and go to the update on the CISOP. I've got, while you're with you, I'll have Ann and Rick. Rick, I believe, has had a little bit of a chance to review it, and Ann has been part of this process. So give us an update on the where the CISOP is with Farmdale Sanitation and the city of Frankfort and us.
All right, so there has been a lengthy negotiation, if you will, on the agreement between the Farmdale Sanitation District and the City of Frankfort Sewer Department, so that Farmdale could send flow to the City of Frankfort. As part of that, the City of Frankfort had requested certain financial assurances that if Farmdale were ever to no longer exist, that Franklin County would then be a party to any financial elements related to the CISOP agreement. And so when we received the latest revision of the CISOP, the county attorney had made a suggestion that language be added to the agreement and or a separate agreement that is a direct agreement between the county and the Farmdale Sanitation District. And with those details, I would like the county attorney to speak on. I would just like to say that executing or getting a CISOP agreement executed and recorded is extremely important, because Farmdale has already done income surveys and such for various sources of funding, and those income surveys are valid for a limited amount of time. So the sooner we could execute this agreement that is agreeable to all parties, the better everyone will be, especially the customers that are served by the Farmdale Sanitation District. The City of Frankfort continues to work on finalizing the design of their Twilight Trail pump station, while Farmdale continues to finalize their design on their pump station and force main. So with that, Judge, I'm happy to turn it back to you and or the county attorney.
Well, let's let the county attorney, he's on, let's let him speak to what he's reviewed as part of it too.
Thank you, Judge, and good afternoon, Court, and happy early Thanksgiving while I get the chance to say it this round. It's a pleasure again to appear before you. I spoke with Ms. Ross today as well on the comments I had relative to this agreement. You all have had an opportunity to review it. There were 3 items in particular that caused me some concern. 2 in particular, one of them should cause you concern because of the unknown amount as to about a $500,000 capital improvement grant, and Ann's going to speak, I think, to that relative to some grant money that was available. But beyond that contribution, you also stand in lieu of a cosigner to an extent. That is, if Farmdale doesn't pay their expenses to the sewer department, then they've requested that there be a guarantor, and the guarantor in question was Franklin County government. So there is an unknown amount that you may be called upon in the event that Farmdale doesn't pay their costs to city sewers. And we have to have some agreement, however you choose to do it, be it a side agreement or just a sub-paragraph about their reimbursement under whatever schedule. But that needs to be placed in there if the county is going to be responsible for being on the hook for Farmdale. Farmdale has to be on the hook to be responsible back to the county if that occurs. And the second part of that is you don't know what that amount's going to be yet because it's not started. So I understood from Ms. Ross that the city's also further negotiating those things. I told her about these two problems. And I understand this is also gonna be up for further discussion before the city at their next meeting. But the point was to get it to you all, so you all could make any comments you have about it, to add anything. So as Mr. Hewitt said, we can hammer them down and get this agreement solid. People need the services out there as soon as possible.
Squire Sebastian?
Thank you, Judge. So where are we supposed to find this draft of the CASA?
We don't have a.
I don't have it in my packet. Do you?
I don't know.
No, and I was not instructed to distribute it, and I apologize. We don't typically send out draft agreements, but
Oh.
if that's.
Okay, I just know
What
the
I
counselor
need.
said you all have it and you see what I'm talking about.
Can we send
And I
out a
don't.
draft agreement, Rick?
So,
Pardon, sir?
Ask.
Is it okay that I distribute the draft agreement?
We've seen them, we've seen draft agreements before.
I was under the impression that this was out for purposes of discussion, so that's why I was referencing the actual agreement. I apologize that issue read.
Okay, yes, you will get a copy
Thank
of
you.
it.
Thank you.
Judge, if I may.
Yes, sir.
The reason it wasn't forwarded out, in my opinion, is that the Farmdale Sanitation District has not agreed to this revised draft at this point. Or have they been advised of the county's desire for this additional language to be added? They meet, I think, in a week and a half. So, pending acceptance of the revised language by the district, I would then say it would come before the court for final adoption or agreement to, and then the agreement is between Farmdale and the city, with the county being the guarantor.
And that's what I spoke to Ms. Ross about, was the necessity to add those three things that I just discussed.
I still think that this could be done simultaneously, that the court can be reviewing it. And I do know that Squire Sebastian and Squire Booth are always at the Farmdale Sanitation District meetings anyway, and so that can be part of that discussion. So it doesn't hurt to have everybody at the table having those discussions. So I'm gonna go ahead and have the draft sent out, so the full court plus the two magistrates that represent that area will have that opportunity to discuss those issues with the sanitation district.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Do I have the most recent draft?
Well, Judge Wells, would you prefer that we add the proposed language to the agreement so that it's forwarded both to the court and the sanitation district?
That'd be fine.
As recommended by the county attorney?
So, do we have that proposed language?
No, sir.
Well, that can come separately. That could be we could send out the draft, and then when Rick gets us the proposed language, we can just add that as an addendum. Since it's a draft, it could be as an addendum, I guess. Is that okay, Rick?
Yes, sir, that's fine. To answer Ms. Harrod's question, the last draft that I've reviewed that Judge Wells sent to me is the only draft I have currently, ma'am. I don't have any other preliminaries. That's the last one I have.
Okay, thank you.
And then you all just tell me which way you want to go with it. I think it's an easy solution if you get called upon it. The problem is that you're going to have to be made aware, specifically in budget of 2024, 2023, you're going to have to account for that as a contingency, and I have no idea what those amounts would be. So just tell me which way you want me to add a section, or you want another contract. That's really the question I've got.
What do you think's best? Robert, yeah, go ahead and add it, what you're proposing, and to the best of your ability, and then we'll send it out. Is that okay, Robert, with you?
Sounds great.
Okay.
I will give yeoman's touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Rick, can I ask you a quick question? You know, I know dealing with the water boards, you know, you always say we don't have authority over them and they're the kind of their own entity. But because we're gonna be the co-signer at this point. Does that change?
Good question.
They are their own entity. That's why I phrased the response that I had in the review as a request for a guarantor in the event that they default. This does not give anything more than a creditor-debtor type of relationship.
So we will still not have any input of day-to-day or anything. They're still their own thing, but we still are guaranteeing them.
Yeah, it's like if your kid goes out and you give them a car, they're on the hook for it, but you can't dictate what they do in the car. But yeah, basically.
Okay.
And just raise their rates.
They did?
Yeah.
Marty likes the, that's cool, okay.
What?
So I'll draft something to insert in the existing language in that paragraph. I think it's paragraph 6.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Rick. Robert, Ann, I didn't see you on there. I hope you're doing okay. Is Ann on today?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Ann, do you have any other comments you want to make about this?
No, I would just, I would agree with Robert that, and with Councilor Sparks, that yes, we need to definitely nail down this as quickly as we can. There's a lot of moving parts hinging on that agreement. For example, the congressional appropriation that we've received, there's a CDBG being written for Farmdale by Bluegrass Ad. So there's a lot of things that agreement will absolutely be necessary to have in place for the district to keep moving forward with progress.
Well said, Ann. Thank you. Okay?
Hey, Ann, could you advise the court on the income surveys that are done, won't those apply to more than one funding source?
They will. The way that that's been handled is the most strict of the requirements of all the funding sources. Those kinds of requirements were used so that the income surveys will be eligible for the CDBG. They'll also be eligible for rural development and some other funding sources as well. And as we've guessed all along, that income survey came out that made the service district eligible for those types of grants.
Squire Booth?
Did you say there was a time limit on when they would be accepted?
Those surveys are good for 2 years.
Because of the income. See, your income potentially could change for the individual survey. And there were several series of questions on there. As our grants administrator said, that would make us allowable for multiple sources.
Yeah.
And it was put together for that purpose, because I
Yeah.
helped them walk the neighborhoods.
Yeah, I remember you did, but I thought that Robert said that those income surveys would not be presentable or considered as part of a grant after a certain period of time. Did I misunderstand that?
No, ma'am, you're correct. It's 2 years, as Squire Sebastian said.
And that was this summer that they were
Correct.
done, yeah.
We worked on them, yes.
So
Sure did.
time goes very fast, and so we need to keep it moving forward.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Rick. The next item on the agenda, I believe, Rick, this is yours. This concerns the Airbnbs. This is the second reading and approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 33, Taxation of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances by adding a definition section and amending Section 33.01, tax imposed. Mr. Sparks, I think this is some verbiage that you wanted.
Yes, sir, and I thank our clerk who combined these and made it really simple. House Bill 8 last year amended certain tax amounts that we could collect, specifically Airbnbs, folks who sell lease properties, etc., for so many days, and to modify the state law, we put in a definition section to make it consistent with what is the now expanded definition of what we can tax on our ordinance. So this is the second reading of that.
Oh,
Do I understand that?
And got the one that's got, it's all in highlighted, it's got the,
I understand.
notes, et cetera. It was very simply done, and thank you very, very much. Thank you, Ms. Harris, for putting that together.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sparks. The next item, and as we read this, Michael, you've been part of this, and we're just really excited to talk about this. This is authorization to approve a resolution pledging a commitment to the renovation of the Kentucky State University Exum Center and entering into a memorandum of understanding between Kentucky State University, the City of Frankfort, YMCA of Kentucky, and the Franklin County Fiscal Court, establishing the Exum Center Local Collaborative. And Michael, you've been part of the meetings, I've been part of the meetings, and it is a fantastic building, the Exum Center is, and it's underused. Unfortunately, it's not used, even the students feel like it's underused, and this is an opportunity for us in the community to have, number one, which the community has yelled and screamed about forever, an indoor swimming facility, right? Squire Muller, you want to say any more? I'll let you say it.
Well, no, yeah, I think it's a great thing. I am concerned the way that it's proposed. I don't think this is exactly, I think during the Lakeview Park process, we learned the importance of we need a swimming pool, we need an indoor facility, and that's what, our seniors and our kids and our teams and everybody are missing. I wonder if it would be okay with the court if I made a motion to table this until the next meeting so we could maybe meet with the mayor, because it was my understanding that the MOU was going to be between the YMCA and Kentucky State University, and correct me if I'm wrong, and then, the city and the county would be part of it. It's being presented differently than what I feel is.
How is it different?
Because it's completely the city's running the whole thing, and that's when we met with the mayor, he said this is agreement between the YMCA and the KSU. I'm just wanting to make sure it's right, and if you all disagree with me, that's fine.
No.
I just, after reading it, I just think.
Is it that line about the city would organize the meetings?
Well, it's just.
Because somebody had to do that.
No, I agree. So, I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, this is kind of work session, we can all talk about it. I just, my gut feeling is I would like to look at it one-on-one with them, just to make sure everybody's happy. Because I want it to be a good working relationship.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately, I mean, the governor wants to be involved, and, come January or February, he wants to be able to go to, his bodies and say, hey, look at all these entities working together. This is a good thing for the community. So I don't think there's a huge rush. That's why I just, you kind of get a gut feeling that if.
Well, the city's voting on it.
The next meeting?
Last night?
Was it last night?
Not yesterday's?
Yeah, I think.
This came from the city.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
Laura Ross is my understanding, and the county attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, they've all worked together to write this. And this came to me from the city.
That is correct. And there are actually two documents there that you all are looking at. There's a resolution with some funding, intended funding, and then there's the memorandum of agreement. And it wasn't just Ms. Ross and I. That was also conveyed to the Y and shared with the K-State authorities, et cetera. And that was the final version that we were creating, and that is the final version that everyone, at least on the legal departments, sent out for the bodies to consider. Notwithstanding the resolution with the money, that was a little different story, but the underlying portion as to the MOU.
Squire Tracy?
Just a couple quick questions after reading this. So on the first part, it references the county provides a sum of $1 million towards the project. Then you circle down and it says the city contributes a sum of $1 million. Is this a totally different project than the commitment that was already made from the city in regards to the 2.5 and their bonding capacity? Is this something totally different?
No, well, this is different is that they're not building a new building. The city committed 2.5 million to build a brand new Y. So this is where they're not building an indoor swimming pool, it's already there. They're not building a building, the building is there. So the city is saying that we committed to the Y's estimate of a $28 million building. Now that we don't feel like it's going to be costing that much, and so they said that they wanted to put $1 million in, and I said, our million was to go to the indoor swimming pool, which we had in our budget for an indoor pool.
So the to-do about so what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, the to-do about having a YMCA in downtown Frankfort is no longer in the eyes of across the river. Is that correct?
If this works out, yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then my next question, in some of this information, it was like a rerun of parcels B and C. Agency roles and responsibilities. It's basically having the county commit to funding and grant opportunities, and then the city and KSU will take the co-leads. They will be the co-lead agencies. Is that correct? And all the county has is just a commitment of funding.
They will have members of that board, that committee. The county will have a member.
Yeah, one member, but what I'm saying.
No, I think it's the mayor and a magistrate or mayor and somebody, or some,
At least one representative.
at least one.
Yeah, so there'll be one.
No, at least one doesn't mean that there's only one.
Okay, but again, agrees to help identify potential funding sources through grants and other funding sources. So we're not a lead agency, we're just a bank.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
I mean, that's what I see when I see this. I see a rerun of parcels B and C. So that's where I'm at.
Well, that's
So-
why I'd like the opportunity, I think, to sit down with the mayor.
So the conversations that you've been part of, you both have been part of, were they in this vein?
No.
No,
No.
okay.
The vein, the
So-
vein was, as the lead agency, was somebody had to be in charge of, okay, we're gonna meet on this day at 4 o'clock or at 5 o'clock, and where are we gonna meet? And, I took it off of the counties and said, okay, the city said, we'll do it. I said, okay, you won't do that. As the lead agency, that's all that meant, was that they would direct, they would write the minutes, we had to keep minutes, somebody would keep the minutes from the city side, and then make the agenda for the meetings. So that's all that was. And you should say thank you, because that's a lot of work.
It did pass city commission last night.
Did, okay.
I just confirmed that.
This agreement. Well, I think we have a lot of money.
They're not asking for anything other than that $1 million that
And
we've
you already
already
put that in the
appropriated for the.
budget.
It's in the
Yeah.
budget, that is
Yeah.
correct, it's $1 million for, and its designation is for an indoor swimming pool. And heck, if we can build or don't have to build, if we can put $1 million in and get those units fixed and get that swimming pool open, that would be a godsend to this community.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea, I know the city done some sort of study on that pool. Any idea what that's gonna cost?
To do that?
To repair
The last
the pool.
estimate was about $200,000 to $300,000. I know, and there's some other issues, minor issues that, as we walked through it last week, but, that was what I heard. They have not, city paid for, some kind of, company to look at, to do an estimate on that, I think. But they hadn't gotten anything back on that. I think the city paid $33,000 for an architect to read, or an engineer, or somebody to look at that facility.
Judge, have we talked about the $1 million? Because I just remember them talking about an MOU to look into it to see if it's feasible and stuff. I mean, I don't, the $1 million seems like it's new to me. I mean.
No, that is new, that is new, that is
Okay.
new. But Laura Ross asked, do we have money? And I said, we have $1 million that's in our budget for an indoor swimming pool. And so she asked, and this is part of the resolution, to commit that $1 million to the indoor facility, to that indoor swimming pool, if this goes through. And that's a whole heck of a lot cheaper than building our own.
Yes, I agree. Well, Lane Wilkinson has signed it.
He signed something else. That's something else.
Oh, that's something else?
Yes, ma'am. That's something else.
Oh, yeah,
So
I
I-
see. Okay.
So what were your all's conversations? Were they, because you said, I asked if it was in this vein, and it was like, well, no, it wasn't in this vein, so.
I was under
I'm a little-
impression, when I read this, I was confused because it was my understanding that the main agreement was gonna be between the YMCA and Kentucky State University, and then we would be there to help. But I feel like this is written in a different way. That's why I made the statement. I think this is very important for our community, and we know we need to get a pool going, and if we can, you know, one of the things over the last many years is we've tried to get the community on Kentucky State's campus or vice versa, and it has not been successful. So part of the conversations that were had was this might be a great opportunity to, you know, kill two birds with one stone. I just, when I
I
read.
don't think that verbiage has is saying anything other than that. I don't think there's any commitment in that verbiage other than a resolution, a separate resolution asking for the $1 million that we had appropriated. I think all of that is exactly what is being said. That's the whole intent, is for the YMCA. The YMCA will have to take the lead. They're gonna run the building. So it's, what all our role is and should be a conduit to help them find more monies. Not for the county to give them monies, but to help them find grants or be a fundraiser to get money, help with fundraisers. So that's, I don't think there's any more commitment than what we committed in our budget for that indoor pool. Now that was and I've been to the last two meetings, and you were there, the meeting before last, and that's the way I heard it. And to me, that's the way I read it. Now, if you don't want it on the agenda, just tell me and I will take it off. It's no big
What does
deal.
everybody want to do?
I'm fine with tabling it, I really am, because ultimately it goes right back to, okay, we're gonna throw $1 million at something and we don't even know what the cost is gonna be. So if the cost is $300,000 to fix it, we've just given them $1 million for a swimming pool.
We've lost JW.
So I'm just, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'd like for some clarity, not being in the meeting, not,
With this computer.
again, when I read it, I just, again, thought it was a rerun of parcels B and C.
All right,
Meeting's over.
everybody okay with that? We'll take it off?
Tabling it?
We're gonna
Yeah,
table
if
it off?
that's okay,
All right.
I'd like to work with
All right,
them.
Michael, I'll put you in charge of handling that.
That'd be great, thank you.
There he is.
Go from there.
Yeah.
Okay? So we'll table both the resolution and the, other thing, right, Tamara? It's all in one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is, authorization to approve budget transfers, and Amy on the treasurer's report, and Amy on payment of claims.
So for our budget transfer, the jail, you'll see on the second page, sent in this request. And they just needed, for the deputy radios, a little bit more money in that one line item. So it's a decrease to one, increase the other,
But it's still within their budget.
still within their budget.
So, thank you.
Okay. And the next is the treasurer's report, the summary, excuse me, summary of receipts, expenditures, and the changes in the fund balance for the 4 months ending October 31st. So your receipts are $8,004,221, expenditures $11,905,652. Leaving us with a shortage of $3,901,431. But if you add in your fund balance, that leaves us with a fund balance of $18,500,285. Your receipts are higher than last year, but so are your expenditures. Then I've also included the revenue and expenses to date when we put this court packet together. Anybody has any questions about those?
Okay. Payment of claims, are you ready to do that? Any payment of claims, issues? Okay, thank you, Amy. Appreciate it.
I have one. I've got a
Okay.
question.
All right.
Thank you, Judge. Under general fund court bills on page 1, there is a vendor that's a Visa for $1,461 for a bronze memorial of Ducker's plaque.
Oh, I know what that is. We ordered a plaque for the fiscal court for Duckers, bought by the fiscal court.
For, what's it
You
say?
mean to say that, it's now the county that is running that?
Established
and-
November 2022 by the Franklin County Fiscal Court. Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a name for it yet?
Only.
You know what I'm saying? Because you
Oh,
said the other
in
day as well, like everybody's saying.
No, just, we're calling it Duckers Lake Golf Course, or Duckers Lake is what we call it at this point in time. Because that's all we did, was, all it says is that we purchased the Franklin County Fiscal Court, magistrates, your names, judge, purchased this property November 2022.
But it doesn't have a name for the property owner.
That's way away.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
had no
I
idea,
just-
I wasn't gonna touch that
I
for
just-
100 foot.
I hear you. I would be the same.
Yeah.
I just kind of wondered what
Where's it
that
gonna
was.
go?
Inside, I thought, looked at it the other day, I didn't know, but it's probably inside that hallway, as you come in. Or it could go outside, it very well could go outside.
Well, we bought it.
We did, we sure did. Okay, any other questions for Amy?
Yes, thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Do you want to talk to everyone about the occupational tax refund?
Sure. So if you look at your expenses, your expense report, under the treasurer's, so go back. And if you want to look on page, page 2 of the expenses, you're gonna see, that's the occupational tax refunds. Year-to-date, we have spent $2,222. We have an encumbrance of $135,000. And what that is it's a refund of the net profit license. We've had a company that has paid several years to extend, and they made it, they paid. When they filed, nothing was due, and so they've just left that balance, and this year, they requested the balance, so that is why that is so large.
And the balance is always on demand, right?
It is.
Yeah.
We leave it there until they request it.
And is this company still in business?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in your court list,
Okay.
in your supplemental.
Okay.
And I have one more question, and again, it gets back to the inmate eyeglasses. I know we've talked about this, and we've heard about this from several trainings, that anything for the benefit of the inmate, we're not supposed to be paying for at court. That's supposed to come out of commissary.
Yeah.
Has anyone who went to the training last week, was there a different message shared about that? Because I didn't go, and that could have changed.
For the jails? No.
Okay.
Well, I
But that
don't know.
comes part of, we talked to, I talked to Jake about it, and Jake said that is part of the medical expenses, and we pay for the medical. That's part of our medical contract with, who is it with them?
It's not part of the medical contract. It's just, it's a medical expense that he budgeted for.
Okay, that's right, I'm sorry, you're right.
Is there any way we can get clarification for that from somebody? Because I kind of agree with Squire Sebastian on that. It seems like if it's for the inmate, it could be paid from the canteen.
But I think to the judge's point, which he asked, if we were told by the jailer, which I don't recall being told by the jailer, we would be buying eyeglasses. If he's saying that he's included in his budget, what that says to us is we need to ask these very specific questions where we were not paying for these things continuously, where we are told at conferences we're not supposed to pay for things for the benefit of the inmate, and yet they show up in our bills and we're told that someone else has budgeted for that.
But ultimately, that's us paying for it.
But that's ultimately us paying for it, so
Right.
we've got to,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, well, who would you ask about that? The Jailer Association? No,
the jail,
it's a
when
law.
the jailer comes in and presents his budget, same.
Oh,
We have to
okay.
be more specific about these
I-
things.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think that-
Thank you, Judge.
Amy, if you'll put this in file in the back of your head, that, about issues with with that line item in the budget of what constitutes, monies going in to help inmates.
Certainly.
Where does that line get drawn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amy. The next item, we have gone round and around and trying to figure this out, and it is now, we think the best way to go is, because the court kind of moved in the direction of, instead of leasing a mower, to buy. But it was not bid that way, which means we're gonna have to reject the bid and start over again and put in the language of either lease or buy as part of it. And that's probably, Charlie, I'll put that out for you, and we'll do that with John Mitchell as, unless you know you have the full amount of money budgeted, I think that may be probably a good verbiage for you to use from here on as part of a bid to lease or buy.
Yeah, and we don't have money to buy it this time, but we might eventually be able to pay it off early. So yes, I agree.
Okay. All right, so that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna put that, it's gonna be back on the agenda too, right?
Yes, we're going to amend the agenda to add that on. We have two items.
Okay.
We have to amend the agenda.
Yeah, I thought you, okay.
Okay, the next item, and we're going into, the Constitution offices.
Did you, the second item, did you talk about it?
The second item.
Oh, the title insurance.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I thought this was, the purchase title insurance for Duckers. We were asked when we did the closing, do we want to buy title insurance? We weren't sure whether we were supposed to or not, but it said you can buy it later. It's about, how much is it, Timber?
It's $2,875.25, and I sent this over to the county attorney to review, and he did make the recommendation that we purchase this. So I put it on here, I just, got the correspondence back yesterday, so I apologize, it wasn't on the agenda. But I wanted you all to have the opportunity to decide if it's what you want to do, to vote it up or down.
And there was some ambiguity on the fantastic meeting we had on Sunday with with people interested in the Duckers Golf Course and the future of that. The ambiguity came in the fact of who owns the lake. And so, well, some say, I don't know. But I think And talking with Mr. Conley and Mr. Sparks, I think it's behooves us to go ahead and buy title insurance just to make sure if there's some issues out there that I think it covers us for that.
And the title insurance would protect our ownership of the lake?
Not necessarily, it would help us, it would clarify, I think.
Have our standing for all the property.
Yeah, I think that's the part of it. And so there are some people that have bought things that, there's a whole lot of stuff that's being said that we had no idea when we were doing this.
When I took
That
that-
somebody bought some property, then they sold it,
Yeah.
and so
Right.
it just
Like
like,
money well
okay,
spent.
we need to get something, we need to have some insurance here. And that's why we're
Yeah.
here.
When I took that tour, the guy that mows that, what was his name? Carl, he showed me the land that was bought by somebody but not developed. And it was kind of confusing, so I agree that it is confusing.
Well, this just covers us.
Yeah.
For extra expenses, really. Squire Tracy?
Is Mr. County Attorney on?
I'm sure he can be. But Rick, are you on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Rick, obviously, we're all aware we've got a lot going on and a lot coming down the pipe. So instead of waiting and trying to play catch up, what I'd like to do is just ask you a question to get your professional opinion on something.
Well, I was hoping I could avoid the test, but
Yeah, and it's really simple for you. It's whether the storage of bourbon is consistent with an agriculture product. I don't need it today. Obviously that gives you some time, and
Wow.
again, it's coming to us. We know it, so I just wanted to go ahead and get you started working on
You
it.
think that's simple?
It is for him.
I think everybody has their own opinion on that.
Yeah, but he's the professional, so.
had known, I studied more for la Bar Association. I will have to admit that is a fascinating subject to me in a number of ways. It has not crossed my desk up to this point, but since you have asked me that question, if the court is so inclined to pursue it, I will proceed in answering in an opinion format the subject that you have asked. I'm assuming that the court and others have followed the planning and zoning meetings, et cetera, that we've had the last couple of months, if not weeks. I know that they're addressing a text amendment, which is a little different than the statute as to a zone change. But if that is the will of the court, and that is the will of the court to give me that marching order, I will try to find something out. If not, I will inform my successors to also study the same books and be ready at the first of the month, however or whenever you wish to do so. So just give me some directions and give me a goal. That's all I need. I don't need a yellow light, or I don't need a green light, I just need a yellow light.
Is the consensus of the court to ask Rick to define whether bourbon is an agricultural product?
Yes.
Judge Wells, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Judge Wells, if I may.
Yes, sir.
There's been a proper motion for reconsideration by an affirmative member of the planning commission for this public hearing to be brought back before the planning commission. So I would request that before you ask the county attorney to prepare this research, allow the public hearing to continue on, and let them make a final recommendation, and then I would suggest that you make that request of the county attorney.
Thank you, Robert. I didn't know that had been a formal request. The last I left it was the bringing it back from the zone map amendment and to bring it back further. I think that's the last meeting I heard with Mr. Logan, and for which there's some other collateral matters pending. But if they are doing it, as I said, that has not yet hit my desk. I did not realize that those matters, again, this is a zone map amendment, we're pending, I will certainly do whatever the court directs me to do, but that is a side issue. Frankly, and Squire, the court's gonna have to face that question at one point or another in manipulating this issue when it comes up.
Well, since the planning commission was the originator of the proposed text amendment, it may or may not come before the court.
Correct.
So, to save you the effort,
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. So the planning commission continued their public hearing at their regular November meeting. And per Robert's Rules of Order, within 24 hours of the planning commission's recommendation to the Fiscal Court and City Commission, an affirmative member who voted for forwarding it on made a written request to the chairman and their legal counsel for reconsideration to bring it back to the planning commission. So I just don't want the county attorney or the county to get ahead of the process, if you don't mind.
Thanks, Robert. I know I watched them trying to educate myself on it. I know a couple months ago that the legal counsel for the planning commission referenced to the committee that they probably need to seek the legal opinion of both the city solicitor and the county attorney. So that, I don't know if that's been done. I hadn't seen where it has or hadn't, but I think maybe that's just another reason that I was like, we know it's coming, so we might,
Squire, let me qualify this. I can assure members of the court that question, but for Squire Tracy's inquiry tonight, has not yet been brought to me in any form or fashion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, again, maybe I need a little bit more than just a yellow light. Just tell me what you want me to do when you want me to do it. I don't know if you all know this or not, but I understand I will be changing jobs soon, so if I've got to do it, I'd like to have on it as opposed to let it sit.
I think Robert's point is very valid, that if the process is moving, the whole question stems from comments, decisions from the planning and zoning. Let the planning and zoning move forward if that's possible. If it's not going to happen, Robert, if there's nothing done about it, then the court should take it up. If that is, I guess, if the text amendment's coming back to us at some point in time, well, we will have to take it, or you all will have to take that up, not me. I don't guess it's and good luck.
Well, Judge Wells and the court, unlike a zone map amendment, which must come before you with a recommendation of approval, denial, or no recommendation at all, statute requires that a zone map amendment comes before you after it goes through the proceedings at the planning commission. The text amendment is not required to.
That is correct.
So, with the public hearing continuing, the planning commission does not have a regular meeting in December. I'm unaware of any request to schedule a special planning commission meeting in December, so therefore, according to the calendar, the next consideration for the continuation of the public hearing related to the text amendment of urban warehouses will not occur until January of 2023.
Well, I'm very excited. I'll let Mr. Conley know to be out for a lookout on that come January 2022.
Just a question in that regard, is there a matter of timing where that has to be brought before the planning commission before a decision stands, as in other matters?
No, ma'am. According to KRS 100, the only time limitation imposed is when the text amendment is originated with the legislative body, the city commission, or the fiscal court, not when it originates with the planning commission.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rick, I personally would like to see you, I would like to hear, or get you working on the professional opinion personally, but.
I appreciate your valuable insight, and I will do everything I can possibly avoid having to to you, and I'll talk to you about it. Thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right, you too. The next report, Betty Jo, are you on? Can you be on?
Yes, I'm on.
We've had several vacancies, and I'd like for you to update the court on people retiring, leaving, if you would.
Okay, currently, we have a full-time planning and zoning planner.
That's a position
have-
open, right?
Yes, that position is open currently. Currently opening is the part-time building inspector. We have a part-time bookkeeper position open. These are, I'll do the next one next. We will have a maintenance director position open after 11:30. We will have, after 12:31, we will have a full-time chief electrical inspector. And we will also have a full-time grant writer position.
Okay.
And the last one was the what date?
The grant writer,
12/31.
Thank you.
we do have advertisements going out. We're working on the grant writer advertisement now, so we will get that out very quickly.
Well, hold on a minute. We had a conversation with Squire Muller today, and he has something to say about that.
Well, I'm just wondering with the holidays and everything else and a new court coming in, I don't think we're gonna be able to get anybody hired in the next 30 days regardless. So my thought was, and I'd like to maybe talk to the people that are gonna be on the court, between next year, is do we wait till January 1 to start advertising again?
I'm gonna get it on out there whether you hire now or not.
Well, my worry is,
We've had one planner been advertised for 3 months now and haven't got anybody. So better get it out there. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you, Squire. Anybody?
Well, I'm not saying you have to, but as I told you, I don't feel like I need to do it, but there's no reason that, because you are a magistrate.
Right.
And anybody else could, if you got applications, you got people, and when you come in and you meet on the first day of January the 3rd, you could have somebody in place to, these are important positions. Your grants administrator is huge.
Yes.
And,
Electrical inspector is too.
and all the inspectors are as well.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think the maintenance is very important too, but I think we can hold on to that, but of course, it's all up to you. I'm fine either way.
Okay.
Maybe one at a time.
You all kind of, Michael, you want to give direction where?
Yeah, I was just kind of, a couple guys are here, so why not, thoughts?
My thought on that is there's only one magistrate at a time, and we're not magistrate yet.
Right.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking that too. Thank you, Richard.
Yep.
But you have 6 magistrates.
Yeah.
That are still magistrates.
Yeah, no, I agree. I respect everybody's opinion. This is more just a conversation.
You have 4 of you that are going to be back.
Right.
I think when it comes to, as we've seen in the past, when it comes to personnel, you're gonna be the new judge. If there's a direction you wanna go, then we have to hear it and listen to it.
Let's go ahead and advertise. Let's see what happens.
Okay, so go on and advertise for all the positions currently.
Yep.
Now, I do have a question that I need to ask the court. I have spent over $5,000-6,000 on the full-time planner and the part-time building inspector. So what I've done is, basically, we have those 2 positions only on our Indeed and Facebook page, but I have not sent out advertisements in the Frankfurt or Lexington or Louisville. Any direction of how you all want me to do that, where we have spent a lot of money on those ads and didn't get anybody in September or October?
Let's bring Robert back up on that. Robert, do you, Robert is the planning person, maybe Robert has some ideas.
Well, yes, the building inspectors have their own association. We could send that to them. And then I can send it back out for a free advertisement specific to the planner position for the Kentucky Association of the American Planning Association, just to refresh it so it gets back to the top of the screen. So I believe both of those are free publications. It's just a tough job market. I will say that from the planners, graduation for the universities is in December, so I hope to have another round of fresh graduates looking for employment. In terms of a part-time building inspector, it's more than likely we're going to look for someone that's retired. There are some prospects out there, so I am hopeful that come the first of the year that there will be some additional applications. We do have one that is a prospect, but they're out of state, so I'm trying to save, I guess since we're getting into the holidays, I'm trying to save interviews for the part-time building inspector till the first of the year. It's very important that we get these positions filled, more so the electrical inspector's position, because their workload does not slow down during the wintertime. In fact, it actually picks up because of furnaces and ice storms and things of that nature. So all these upcoming vacancies are extremely important to the functions of county government, to the service of our community, and we need to get quality applicants in these positions as soon as possible. So I appreciate the court's willingness, if you will, to go ahead and advertise. And the position for grants administrator and community development, I can't emphasize enough how important that position is to not only county government, but the assistance to the Farmdale Sanitation District. Because the sanitation district is looking at a $15 million project to serve the southwest quadrant of this community. And it's a lack of a position, of someone in that position with the ability to perform that work is really going to set things back. So I would encourage the court to press forward and try to get qualified employees hired as soon as possible.
Betty Jo, if it's okay, because it looks like this is gonna sit on me, how about if I come down in the morning and we talk, okay?
Yeah, that's fine, because I need to know if you all want
Yeah.
me to advertise in the
Yeah.
papers too, not just what we.
Yeah.
And then I have one other question. Yeah, that's fine. What time?
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, doesn't matter to me.
I'll be here whenever.
Okay, I'll do 8 o'clock.
Just come in, yeah.
Yep.
And then I have another question. Going forward, because we've only got one court left, if I get any more resignations, what do you all want me to do? Do you want me to send you an email? What type of notification? Because we've just got one more court, which is December 16th, so I just need some direction with that also.
It would have to be after December the 16th, because the 16th you can let everybody know. I think it probably would, I'll handle that. I think it would be, the best thing to do would be to contact Michael Mueller, because he's gonna be the new judge, and let him handle how to get that out.
Yep.
Okay, so I need to contact Michael if I get any more resignations, correct?
That'd be good.
Let us know too, though.
After the 16th, after the 16th. After the 16th, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Any other department reports? Without seeing none, we've got 5 minutes, it's 7:48. We'll come back at 7:53, and we will go into our voting session.
Oh, the
So we got a
clock is-
recess. I know, that's wrong, and I
Oh,
need to
thank
change that.
goodness it is. Okay.
We're in recess. This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court video teleconference regular meeting for November the 22nd, 2022. This is our voting session. Clerk, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Here.
Squire Muller.
Present.
Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Booth.
Present.
Squire Moore.
Here.
Judge Wells.
Here. The first item on the agenda is authorization for approval of minutes from our regular meeting of November the 4th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, next item is authorization to approve a 3% cost of living increase to all county employees effective with the January 20th 2023 pay date.
So move.
Second.
Okay, hold on.
Moore and Muller.
Moore and Tracy.
No, Tracy, Moore and Tracy. I apologize.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to approve the county clerk's lump sum fee officials budget for the calendar year 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to approve the county clerk's annual order setting maximum amount for deputies and assistants for the calendar year 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to approve the purchase of tasers over a 5-year period at the jail.
So
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes, this is already an expenditure that's in their budget, so yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is the first reading of an ordinance of the Fiscal Court of Franklin County, Kentucky, authorizing and approving the issuance of Franklin County, Kentucky general obligation bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $8 million. Authorizing the levy of a direct annual tax on all taxable property within the county, in addition to all other taxes in amount sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds to the extent that the revenues are not sufficient. And authorizing the taking of all other actions, including execution and delivery of a continuing disclosure agreement, federal tax certificate, IRS Form 8038G, and such other documents, agreements, and certificates necessary or required for the issuance of the bonds. The second reading of this ordinance will be at a special call meeting on Monday, November the 28th at 4 o'clock. The next item on the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance, the table of special ordinances, Section 1, zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for a 4.57 acre portion of property identified as Parcel 1 of Exhibit A, located in Deed Book 612, pages 217 of record in the office of the Franklin County Clerk. The parcel is further identified as PVA map number 094-00-00-007.00, located on the North Scruggs Lane from Rural Residential C District, RC, to Agricultural District, AG. The second reading of this will be on December the 16th. The next item is the second reading and approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 33, Taxation of Airbnbs, Franklin County Code of Ordinances by adding a definition section and amending Section 33.01. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is an the next item, item 10, has been tabled. We will go to now item 11, and that's authorization to approve the budget transfer for fiscal year 2022-2023.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is payment of claims. Is there a motion offered to deny any payment of any claim? Seeing none, claims are ordered to be paid. The next item is authorization to amend the agenda to add a bid rejection and purchase of insurance.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to amend the agenda to bid rejection of purchase of insurance, right?
What was this?
No.
Okay.
Well, we need to vote on the,
Okay.
All right,
Rejection.
I'm sorry. The next, I apologize. The next item is authorization to reject bids for the lease of a large area mower and re-advertise.
so moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
I want to make sure that the re-advertise includes leasing and buying, or buying of the equipment. Yes. The next item is authorization to approve the purchase of title insurance in the amount of $2,875.25 for the property at 67 Buena Vista Drive, otherwise known as Duckers.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to go into closed session to provide an update to the fiscal court on opening litigation cases per KRS 61.810, Section 1, Section C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on the behalf of the public agency. No action will be taken during this closed session. We will return to open session and adjourn. And before we go into that, because normally people will leave us at this time, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and may all our community be safe and sound, and enjoy your family time. So, is there a motion for this authorization to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Muller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. We're going into closed session.